Chapter 848. Li Fan transferred a mutant from the Special Abilities Bureau. This mutant was a little boy who had just turned 11 years old, but he seemed to be very mischievous. After all, after growing up in the Special Abilities Bureau and experiencing those things, it was impossible for him to be immature. The little boy stood on a winding mountain path in Cat Ear Mountain, stretched out his hand, and gently touched the stone below. "Are you done?" Li Fan stood beside the little boy. More than half an hour had passed, but the boy still did not answer him. If he had the ability of Prophet, he would probably know the answer at once. However, according to Bai Lin Luo, Prophet had been destroyed. "Don't worry." The little boy closed his eyes and scolded, "Your friend's accident happened a few days ago. I have to pull up the video from before." Li Fan quickly shut his mouth so as not to disturb the little boy. Although their abilities did not have much combat power, they had some special effects in other aspects. For example, this little boy could sense the memory of an object by touching it. This ability was extremely useful in tracking and investigating cases. After another half an hour, the little boy finally sat down and stretched out his hand to Li Fan. "What do you mean?" "Salary." The little boy rolled his eyes. "You want me to do labor, so you have to pay me a salary." "What?" "What I said is reasonable." "Then how much do you want?" Li Fan wondered how Bai Lin Luo trained his subordinates. Why were they all so realistic? "I'm so young. Why do I need money? I want to eat McFlurries." "Ha! There isn't even a McDonald's on the island." "It's boring, okay." The little boy sighed. "I like eating McFlurries the most." "Okay, help me settle it. I'll treat you to as many McFlurries as you want." "It's a deal." "You're a man, and a man can't go back on his word," the little boy said in a rather experienced manner. "This is a promise between us men." "Okay, thanks for your hard work. Tell me where my friend is." "He was picked up by a van with the license plate number HA9949P. the little boy said. "All right." Li Fan immediately perked up. He gave Ling Tian a call and asked him to check the license plate number. "There's no need to check. I saw where the car went." The little boy stretched lazily. "Your ability can still track." "Yes, I can see the memory of objects." The little boy said, "This is nothing." "He's a little sick." Li Fan couldn't help but want to give him a thumbs up. This ability was too strong. Li Fan didn't want to send him back to the Li Family Island. Anyway, Li Family Island has been quite peaceful recently. I don't need this kid's ability. I might as well let him stay for my convenience. Where did the car go? I saw some seafood or something, the little boy tried to recall. Because the car went too far, I really can't remember. It's enough. Li Fan nodded and asked Ling Tian to investigate this seafood. In the end, they locked onto a seafood warehouse. "Okay, I'll ask someone to bring you to eat McFlurry." Li Fan instructed Sun Qingchen to be his nanny for a day. He directly made a call to the Devil Incarnate. 10 minutes later, a Grand Cherokee stopped in front of Li Fan. The Devil Incarnate jumped out, wearing tattered cowboy clothes, and the Type 38 was placed on his passenger seat. This Devil Incarnate dressed very sloppily every day. He didn't wash his hair. His face was covered with dust like a beggar. He was like this, slovenly, and didn't pay attention to his image at all. He couldn't change this bad habit. In the future, it would be hard for him to find a girlfriend. "Motherfucker, who touched Lei? I'll go kill him." The Devil Incarnate was infuriated. Lei Zi had actually been captured. He even swore that he went to a prostitute. "Motherfucker. Don't be anxious. This probably has nothing to do with the underworld. Li Fan felt that something was amiss. I called you over to let you gather a few capable brothers. We're going to search the house. Search the house. That's good. The devil incarnate heard and immediately became happy. Where are we going? Dong Dong Seafood Warehouse. Li Fan instructed, secret identity. Put on your masks. Don't let the other party discover our identity. Okay. Boss, get in the car. We'll go prepare now. Search the house and save Lei at the same time. Li Fan sat in the car. He was still thinking hard. Who was it that caught Lei? Why did they catch Lei? If it was to threaten him, then they should have made a move long ago. Could it be that Lei had offended someone in the past? The people he offended in his early years were all small characters. Later on, they all followed him. The things that he offended were all done by him. Who could it be? Li Fan felt that his brain was not enough to process it. If only Lin Yuhsin was here. She would definitely be able to help him analyze it. Boss, how many people do you need? The devil incarnate asked. We have more than 100 brothers. Should we call them all? Don't make a fuss. We don't need that many. Li Fan waved his hand. I want the best, not the most. Just 10 people will do. As Li Fan spoke, he picked up a compound bow from the back and fiddled with it in his hand. Do you still play with this recently? I went hunting some time ago. The devil incarnate explained, I bought it at that time. But I'm not good at archery. It's better to use a gun. Okay, I'll use it first. Li Fan folded the compound bow and hung it on his back. Then, he took out a tiger mask from the glove box and put it on. Boss, you also know how to use a bow. The devil incarnate could not help but ask while driving. If you really can't do it, I'll teach you. Although my bow and arrow are not very good, at least it's better than a newbie like you. Li Fan did not say anything. He just swung the compound bow, put an arrow on it, faced the window, and casually shot an arrow. The arrow flew out and nailed a mouse crossing the street. What the devil's incarnation was taken aback. This was way too awesome. Boss, you used to play with a bow and arrow? First time. What the devil incarnate did not say anything and drove obediently. The devil incarnate drove directly to the security company and found 10 security guards who had been trained. All the security guards were trained before they could take up the job. When these 10 people came out, they were fully armed, no different from the special forces. All of them wore black and green special combat suits and gas masks. They jumped into an Iveco at the back. Let's go. We're going to search the house. The devil incarnate was beaming with joy. Chapter 849. Huang Lei was still tied up in the room. Other than someone coming in to get him a toilet when he went to poop and pee, no one would appear in this room. There was no one to send him food. There was a drip that kept injecting glucose into Huang Lei to ensure that he would not starve to death. A few days later, Huang Lei was emaciated and on the verge of death. They made Huang Lei weaker and weaker. Now, he could not even speak. If it weren't for the glucose, he would have been dead. The voice appeared in his ear again. You don't have much time. The voice reminded Huang Lei, according to the human body's function, if you continue like this for 2 more days, your nervous system will be damaged. Even if I let you go, you can only be a cripple for the rest of your life. Is that so? Then you have to support me. Huang Lei was very weak when he spoke, almost without energy, but you don't have to worry about me. You should worry about yourself, worry about me. Yes, because it won't be long before you die. Huang Lei drooled as he said with a smile, I'll save a place for you down there. You're still daydreaming. The voice sneered, it seems that you won't give up until you reach the Yellow River. An electric current climbed up Huang Lei's body as if it was going to tear his body apart. Although Huang Lei was in pain, he seemed to be used to this kind of pain and could not even scream. He just twitched subconsciously as saliva flowed out from the corner of his mouth. I'll wait for you down there. Huang Lei seemed to have been electrocuted to the point of delirium. He spasmed as he said that. Before the voice could say anything, a gunshot suddenly came from outside. Then, it was like firecrackers outside. The gunshots came one after another as they fought. The voice left. Although Huang Lei was a little dizzy, he laughed along with it. A minute later, the door was suddenly kicked open. The sunlight shone in and hit Huang Lei's face. It was so dazzling that he subconsciously closed his eyes. He vaguely heard a familiar voice calling out to him. Lei. Huang Lei was put down and fell into the arms of the demon incarnate. Standing behind him, Li Fan frowned. Since they dared to attack Lei, these people were dead meat. Li Fan stretched out his hand, picked up a spring-returning pill and stuffed it into Huang Lei's mouth. This rejuvenation pill was even more potent than a great tonic. After it was fed to Huang Lei immediately felt a warm current diffusing from his lower abdomen and pouring into all the bones in his body. As his strength slowly recovered, Huang Lei held onto the wall and stood up bit by bit. Big brother, Huang Lei grinned. I didn't embarrass you. Yes, you've never embarrassed me before. Li Fan patted Huang Lei's shoulder. Do you know who kidnapped you? This place had already been cleared out by Li Fan's men. Not a single person was left. I don't know either, Huang Lei shook his head. But the other party kept asking me about the gold. Li Fan frowned and couldn't help thinking. Who could it be? The only one who knew that he had robbed the treasury was Zhou Tai, right? But Zhou Tai had already gotten his share of the benefits. Would he kidnap Huang Lei and ask for the rest of the money? Not likely. Zhou Tai was a very ambitious person. He was even more interested in power. Zhou Tai had placed all his bets on him. He wouldn't fall out with him over such a small amount of money. If it wasn't him, then who could it be? Li Fan fell into deep thought. It was very difficult for him to think of an answer. He still needed Ling Tian and Lin Yuhsian to help analyze this matter. No, it would probably be very difficult for them to find it. Li Fan took out his phone and called Zhou Tai. My brother was almost killed by someone. Li Fan didn't stand on ceremony. After the call went through, he went straight to the point. What do you mean? Zhou Tai was a little puzzled after receiving the call. Why did Li Fan suddenly come to question him? My brother was messed with. That person knows that I robbed the treasury. Li Fan said, I've helped you a lot. This time, I need you to help me with something. Besides me, there should be some people from other factions in the government who know. Zhou Tai understood what Li Fan wanted to ask. He immediately said, You have a lot of enemies, Li Fan. I know I have a lot of enemies, but it's one thing to mess with me. I will never forgive those who mess with my friends and family. I can help you find out. Zhou Tai agreed immediately. You can handle the rest yourself. But don't make too much noise when you do it. Otherwise, I will cut off our relationship immediately. Don't worry. I know what to do. Li Fan hung up the phone and sent Huang Lei to the hospital, telling him to recuperate for the next few days. 3 days later, Zhou Tai finally sent a name to Li Fan's text message. Long Qingyun. The person in charge of the cleaners, the man who forced the Special Abilities Bureau to leave. No wonder he was fearless and knew that he was the one who robbed the treasury. Long Qingyun probably had two reasons for capturing Huang Lei. First, he wanted Huang Lei to spit out the money. Second, he probably wanted to find out the whereabouts of the Special Abilities Bureau. However, he didn't expect Huang Lei to be so tight-lipped. After so many days, he didn't manage to get even half a word of information out of him. The end of the year was approaching, but Li Fan had already gone to the imperial capital alone. A green train slowly pulled into the station. Wearing ordinary blue and black jeans and carrying a worn-out canvas bag, Li Fan followed the crowd and got off the train. The air in the imperial capital was a little hazy, but it had snowed a little in the past few days, so it was much cleaner. When Li Fan took the train, he used a fake ID. The reason why he chose this method was to deceive people. As the person in charge of the cleaners, Long Qingyun hid himself very well. It was impossible to find him so easily. However, Ling Tian and the others found a company behind Dongdong Seafood called Dongdong Seafood Limited Liability Company through Li Fan. It seemed to have some relationship with the authorities. Ling Tian and the others believed that this so-called Dongdong Seafood Limited Liability Company must have something to do with Long Qingyun. This was Li Fan's breakthrough point. After leaving the train station, Li Fan came to a small building outside the 5th Ring Road of the capital and met his agent. My house has good feng shui, beautiful scenery, and convenient transportation. The agent rode a small electric scooter and took Li Fan to see the house while bragging along the way. Look, it's facing south and north. There's also a royal park next to it. The feng shui and scenery are simply indescribable. After you move in, I guarantee that you'll have a lot of money and make a fortune. Also, this house is convenient for transportation. The subway station is just outside the door. Is that so? That's pretty good. Li Fan followed the agent to the place and realized how deceptive this agent was. Chapter 850. The so-called feng shui was good. There was a royal park next to it, but it was just a small, run-down park. The subway station was very close, and the transportation was convenient. Convenient my ass. The subway station was about 8 kilometers away from the house. The shortest distance was 1 kilometer away by bus. The agent introduced the house to Li Fan. It was not big, only about 30 square meters. The interior was very clean, but it was slightly damp. The house was one room with a bathroom, kitchen, and balcony. In the bedroom, there was an ordinary linen sofa and a simple camp bed. It was livable. Look at this place. It's economical and affordable. Other than my house, where else can you find such a good house? The agent praised Li Fan again, but Li Fan could not be bothered to listen. All right. How much is it? I'll rent it. 1,200 a month. Cheap, right? I'll rent it for a season. Deposit 1 and pay 3. If you return early, the deposit will be deducted. The agent took out the contract. Let's write it in black and white. If you have any problems with the house, you can look for me directly. The agent and Li Fan talked about the house for a long time. In the end, everything was settled. Li Fan paid the money and stayed in the house. Long Qingyun was in the capital. If he wanted to find him, he had to do it step by step in the capital. He hid very well, but Li Fan decided to start with the Dongdong Seafood. He lay on the military bed and slept until night. When the sky turned dark, Li Fan got out of bed. He washed his face and changed into a black special combat suit. Then, he put on the tiger mask. At the same time, Li Fan hung the composite bow on his waist. Then, he leaped out of the window. There was a black motorcycle parked downstairs. It did not have a license plate. Li Fan got on his motorcycle and rode all the way to the 6th Ring Road under the cover of night. The Dong Dong Seafood Factory was here. At this time, the factory had stopped working, but there were a few workers sitting outside, playing poker. Only he knows how to play. A man in a jacket walked out of the factory and kicked over the table. The poker cards and change were scattered everywhere, but the workers didn't dare to make a sound. Are the goods ready? Damn it, they'll be here tomorrow morning to pick up the goods. The man in the jacket cursed angrily. We'll act now, we'll act now. The workers obediently put down the poker cards and went to load the goods. Li Fan squatted on top of a street lamp, quietly looking at the factory below. He watched as the man in the jacket walked back into the factory, while the other workers walked to the loading area. 2 guards were standing at the entrance of the factory, smoking. The 2 of them had bulging waists. It was obvious that they were guns. Li Fan took out his recurve bow, knocked an arrow, and shot through the head of a guard, nailing him to the door behind him. The other guard was shocked and subconsciously pulled out the pistol behind his waist. However, another arrow had already pierced through the air and flew over, piercing through his heart and sending him flying out, nailing him to the door. The 2 people were nailed there like specimens. Li Fan silently fell from the sky and gently landed on the ground. Li Fan approached the factory, and a worker happened to see Li Fan at a glance. Someone is here. The worker shouted, at the same time, pulled out his pistol, aimed at Li Fan, and began to shoot. Li Fan hid behind the machine next to him, dodging the bullet. Li Fan did not want to expose his kung fu, so he disguised himself as an avenger. He pulled the recurve bow and shot an arrow into the sky. Li Fan did not use much strength, but the arrow drew a parabola in the air and finally fell on the head of the worker who fired the shot, piercing through his head. The gunshot had alarmed the people in the factory. The workers here were all equipped with guns. They rushed out of the factory and began to shoot at Li Fan. Li Fan picked up the 2 pistols and leaned behind the steel machine. He removed the magazine from one of the pistols and put it in his pocket. He closed his eyes and formed a domain with his true chi, sensing the position of all the workers in the factory. After locking on to these people, Li Fan suddenly rolled to the side, and at the same time, fired 3 shots in a row, shooting 3 workers to the ground. Li Fan continued to move around, hiding behind the surrounding machines to cover his body. Whenever he found an opportunity, he would shoot, and every time he did so, he would shoot down a factory worker. There were not many workers in the factory, and in just a moment, Li Fan killed them all. He sorted out his weapons and stood up from the cover. This was definitely not an ordinary factory. How could all the ordinary workers be equipped with pistols? Li Fan's guess was not wrong. He walked directly to the factory's office and kicked open the door. Bang! Li Fan dodged to the side, and the door was smashed to pieces. The man in the jacket was holding a shotgun and roared at Li Fan. Motherfucker, I will kill you. The man in the jacket walked out with his shotgun and chased after Li Fan, wanting to turn him into a hornet's nest. Li Fan leaned against the wall and waited for the man in the jacket to reveal his shotgun before pushing it up. With a bang, the shotgun's bullet hit the ceiling above his head, cracking the wall and causing it to fall down. Li Fan raised his foot and kicked the man in the jacket, sending him flying. At the same time, he dodged the man's shotgun. The man in the jacket slammed into the table behind him, causing it to overturn. As for Li Fan, he walked in and stepped on the man in the jacket with one foot. He raised his shotgun and pointed it at the man's head. Speak, where is Long Qingyun? Li Fan's voice came through the mask and asked coldly. The man in the jacket, who was aggressive just now, was now scared to the point of peeing. Li Fan was wearing a tiger mask, like a beast from hell, ready to reap his life at any time. Who is Long Qingyun? I don't know, bang. Li Fan broke this guy's arm with one shot. The man in the jacket screamed in pain like a pig being slaughtered, but Li Fan did not have any sympathy for him. Speak quickly. I really don't know, bang. Li Fan broke this guy's leg again. He fainted from the pain and was woken up by Li Fan with water. The man in the jacket was in despair. This guy is simply a demon. I beg you, let me go, I really don't know anything, the man in the jacket cried until he peed his pants. Where is Long Qingyun? Li Fan sat on the boss's chair with his legs on the table. He raised the shotgun and pointed it at the man in the jacket who was lying on the ground. With one leg broken, even if he wanted to run, he couldn't. Chapter 851. The shotgun in Li Fan's hand had a dark muzzle, which made the man in the jacket feel desperate. I really don't know who Long Qingyun is. If I'm lying, let me be struck by lightning. The voice of the man in the jacket was hoarse, as if saying these few words had exhausted all his strength. Bang! Li Fan shot the wall next to him, and the wall's paint flew everywhere. The man in the jacket was so scared that his whole body twitched. He was really going to collapse. You can kill me. I'm going to die anyway. You really don't know who Long Qingyun is. Seeing the reaction of the man in the jacket, Li Fan felt that what he said was probably true. This guy probably didn't know Long Qingyun. My biological brother, my biological father, my biological uncle. I really don't know who Long Qingyun is. The man in the jacket felt that there was a turning point and quickly shouted, if I know this son of a bitch, let my body fester and die. All right. Li Fan nodded. Since the other party didn't know, there was no need for him to continue asking. He changed the question and looked at the man in the jacket. Tell me, who is the boss of this factory? It's my cousin. The man in the jacket betrayed his cousin without hesitation. He handed the factory to me, and then came to the factory every day to deliver goods, pack them, stuff them with fish and seafood, and then take them away. Oh? Li Fan raised his eyebrows, feeling that he had found a breakthrough. Who is your cousin? When will he come to collect the goods? My cousin is called Wang Erju, now known as Buddha Hand in the pugilistic world. The man in the jacket quickly said his cousin's name. He used to be a smuggler. Later, I don't know what kind of evil spirit he had, but he started this seafood factory. What time will he come to collect the goods? Li Fan asked. 2 in the morning. It's coming soon. Hero, I have told you everything I know. Please be merciful and let me go. My worthless life is not worth wasting a bullet on. The man in the jacket kept begging. Li Fan nodded. That's true. Just as the man in the jacket revealed a joyful smile, Li Fan had already pulled the trigger. The burst of shrapnel directly blew the upper half of the man in the jacket away. But these are your own bullets. Li Fan threw the shotgun aside. He wrapped his fingers with true qi so that no fingerprints would be left. This kind of gunfight was obviously caused by a gang fight. No one would suspect martial artists no matter what. Li Fan thought about it and picked up the man's shotgun again. There were also 8 red shotgun bullets attached to the gun, enough for Li Fan to fire a few shots. He examined the shotgun. It was probably a gun that had been used for a year or 2. All the parts were well maintained. Li Fan tidied up his tiger mask, then walked out of the factory and went directly to the unloading area. There were dozens of wooden boxes of goods placed on the unloading area. Li Fan walked in front of one of the boxes and smashed it with the shotgun. A lot of fish and prawns leaked out of the box along with ice cubes and scattered on the ground. Li Fan poured out the fish and prawns in the box and revealed an ice hockey the size of a soccer ball. He held it in his hand and found a bag of white powder sealed inside the ice hockey ball. Drugs? This was the first thought that flashed through Li Fan's mind. He held the ice hockey ball in his hand and urged the true qi in his body to apply it to the ice hockey ball. The ice hockey ball quickly heated up and soon melted into water. The water flowed to the ground and white smoke billowed out. Li Fan took out a bag of white powder and poured out a little. Then, he gently sniffed it. This time, Li Fan almost fell into a trap. A sense of power filled Li Fan's body. He was suddenly full of spirit and joy as if he was about to ascend. This feeling only appeared when he sucked in other people's true qi. After inhaling a mouthful of the white powder, the true qi in his body began to increase rapidly. It was as if this white powder was some kind of special true energy supplement. No, it was different from the returning origin pill. The returning origin pill could restore the true energy in one's body, but this white powder could create a kind of true energy and enter one's body. It was like the true qi that was plundered from others. The same feeling, the same happiness, but it came from different things. No. Li Fan secretly thought that this was not good. This powder was definitely not drugs. It should be some kind of special drug that was specially made for martial artists. It could greatly increase the true qi in a martial artist's body. My God! There were so many wooden boxes here. If each of them hid such a bag of white powder, then, in one night, it could create a Grandmaster level expert. Who was it that had such a powerful powder? According to the law of conservation of energy, it was impossible for a large amount of true qi to appear out of thin air. And this white powder, what was its origin? Li Fan suddenly felt a little frightened. An unprecedented horror poured into his body and entered his internal organs. Scary. Li Fan had an impulse to destroy all the wooden boxes, but he knew that it was useless to do so. The person who created this thing must be continuously producing this thing. And another impulse was that Li Fan wanted to consume all the white powder. If that was the case, he would be happy and could become stronger. Why not? Li Fan suddenly slapped his own mouth. How could he think like that? Practicing martial arts was originally a hard practice, and it was a matter of gradual improvement. He actually wanted to reap without sowing. This was really not right. Just as Li Fan was thinking about how to deal with these things, a roar suddenly came from behind. Kid, what are you doing? How could you break these things? Do you know how much these things are worth? Even if you sold yourself, you wouldn't be able to afford it. Li Fan turned around and saw a young man wearing a black down jacket rushing towards him. There was a red truck parked beside him. Li Fan's body trembled. He put away his random thoughts and carefully looked at the man in the down jacket in front of him. The opportunity had come. When he turned his head, it was a man with a tiger's head. The man in the down jacket was also shocked. Enemy. This guy's reaction was not slow. He subconsciously wanted to pull out his gun. But Li Fan's speed was obviously faster than him. Li Fan quickly shot an arrow. An arrow pierced through the man's wrist and pierced his hand, causing him to scream in pain. You don't have much backbone. Li Fan walked over and looked at the young man who was kneeling on the ground and screaming in pain. Speak, which company sent you? Bah! The other party directly spat on him, but it was blocked by Li Fan's true qi. Looks like you refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. Chapter 852. The young man in the down jacket looked quite unyielding. Even though his hand was pierced, he still looked at Li Fan angrily as if he wanted to skin him alive. This guy was a ruthless character. If he was not subdued by him, he would probably fight to the death with him. However, fighting to the death was one thing. Whether he could fight to the death was another matter. I'll ask you again. Who sent you here? Li Fan asked again, but the young man gritted his teeth and glared at Li Fan. Even if you kill me, I won't say it. Li Fan nodded. He did not use his gun. He just squatted down and stretched out 2 fingers and poked the young man's forehead. Crane tap. A surge of energy entered the young man's forehead and poured into the young man's body. A huge force began to tear the young man's body apart, causing him to scream and bleed from his 7 orifices. This move of Li Fan was more terrifying than any punishment. The young man's eyes and mouth were crooked, and he could not even scream. It was as if thousands of worms had drilled into his body and were constantly tearing at the young man's flesh and blood. The young man was in so much pain that he wished he could die immediately. Li Fan retracted his power. Only then did the young man feel much better and let out a long sigh of relief. Kill me, the young man said with a trembling voice. Li Fan did not reply and poked the young man's head with 2 fingers. The young man was on the verge of collapse again. His internal organs felt like they were about to split open. He could neither live nor die. He couldn't even faint. All he could do was endure his own pain. Li Fan retracted his internal force and looked at the young man again. Kill me, the young man's words were barely audible. However, Li Fan's hearing was much better than ordinary people. He could still hear it clearly. Li Fan used crane tap again. The young man could not even scream. His body was trembling and he began to lose control of his bowels. Tell me and I will set you free. Li Fan spoke again. By Lily Gang, after the young man threw out these 3 words, no matter how Li Fan used Yenha, he did not utter a single word. It seemed that this guy had nothing to offer him. Li Fan was merciful. He picked up the shotgun and shot him in the head. The headless body of the young man lay there. Li Fan did not even bother to clean it up. He directly threw the wooden boxes onto the truck and then sat in the truck. Lily Gang, this name was a little awkward. Li Fan sat in the car, a little confused. Where was the Lily Gang? As Li Fan was thinking, the young man's phone suddenly rang in the car. He took it out and looked at it. It was a text message. The delivery location has changed. Arrive at Phoenix Mountain Villa within half an hour. The message disappeared in a flash. Li Fan wanted to take another look, but because he didn't know the password, he couldn't open the phone. He put the phone back on the truck and finally found a breakthrough. Phoenix Mountain Villa. However, he did not know how to drive this truck. However, this was not a problem for Li Fan. He used his true chi to drag the motorcycle onto the truck. Then, he used his true chi to wrap the truck and slowly moved forward. There was no need for a driver at all. Li Fan's true chi could control the truck. He followed the navigation all the way to Phoenix Mountain Villa before the sky brightened. Along the way, Li Fan did not contact anyone. He did not want to leak the news that he was in the imperial capital to others. 20 minutes later, the truck slowly approached the villa. As Li Fan sat in the car, his muscles and bones began to slowly change. Soon, Li Fan's appearance was infinitely close to the young man in the down jacket. Although it was only about 60% similar, after Li Fan wore a cap, the difference could not be seen. Li Fan's car slowly approached the gate of the villa. When he passed by the sentry post, he picked up a pass from the car and stuck it on the window. The guard in the sentry post looked at Li Fan a few times and scolded, "Damn, why did you come so late?" While scolding, he opened the iron gate. "Hurry up and get in, Third Master has been waiting for you." Third Master. Who is this person? Li Fan did not say anything. He drove the car into the villa, but the awkward thing came. He did not know where to go. There were a lot of guards in black suits patrolling the manor. One of the guards' eyes fell on Li Fan's car. Looking at the truck that was getting slower and slower, he slightly frowned. "Why are you still here?" The guard, carrying a shotgun, walked toward Li Fan and bluntly asked. "The car has a breakdown." Li Fan explained. "What breakdown?" The guard approached and put his face on the window. "Hurry up and fix it." Li Fan stretched out his hand and directly pressed on the guard's head, smashing his head on the window. The guard suddenly fainted. Li Fan then pulled him into the car. Li Fan quickly changed into the guard's uniform and then jumped out of the car. The things in the car could not be moved for the time being. Li Fan pulled the truck to the back of a nearby house and hid it. After he finished his business, he would come back and take the things away. These things were worth studying. After Li Fan changed into the guard's uniform, he carried the shotgun, put on a pair of black sunglasses, and confidently walked into the Phoenix Mountain Villa. The villa was very big. Li Fan really did not know who to look for. Right, he should look for that third master and ask. Perhaps he could get some information. Li Fan saw a guard standing in front of him, secretly smoking. He immediately walked over. Li Fan was silent. His footsteps did not make any sound. But even so, when Li Fan approached the guard's back, the guard actually reacted. He raised the shotgun hanging on his shoulder and was ready to shoot Li Fan. However, Li Fan was even faster. He slapped the man's chin from below, sending him flying and crashing heavily into the wall behind him. Li Fan stretched out his hand and grabbed the guard's neck in midair. "Where is third master?" Li Fan asked coldly. The guard struggled a few times, but he could not break free from Li Fan's steel-like palm. The guard's face turned red. Fear appeared in his eyes. Li Fan slightly loosened his grip. Only then did the guard was able to speak. He's fishing by the lake," the guard said in a hoarse voice. "Thank you." Li Fan twisted his hand and directly broke the guard's neck. This time, Li Fan had already made up his mind. Li Fan intended to not let a single one of Long Qingyun's people live. These businesses should be Long Qingyun's own businesses. Since Long Qingyun dared to touch Li Fan's people, Li Fan was prepared to uproot all his businesses. He wanted to let Long Qingyun know that some people cannot be provoked. Li Fan carried the shotgun again and walked toward the lake. Chapter 853. This Phoenix Mountain Villa had built an artificial lake. Although it was already winter, there was a heating system installed in the lake. Therefore, even in the middle of winter, the lake was still sparkling and the fish in the water were still swimming around. An old man in a Chinese tunic suit was sitting there, holding a fishing rod, calmly fishing. Behind him stood two 2-meter-tall bodyguards. Each of them had a strong build and were black. With one glance, one could tell that they were professional bodyguards hired at a high price. There were also a few gunmen patrolling around, each of them carrying a shotgun or a P90. "Third master, the things have been delivered." A bodyguard put down the phone and respectfully said to the third master. "N." The old man in the Chinese tunic suit nodded. "I don't like people who are not punctual." The bodyguard understood the meaning behind the old man's words. He lowered his voice and secretly said, "The one who picked up the goods is your grandson. It's fine to be late occasionally, as long as the things are delivered." The third master added another sentence. "Third master is right. Recently, those people are a bit too much. The dividends they give us are getting less and less." The third master leisurely said while fishing, "If this goes on, such a big family will be hard to feed." "Then what instructions does the third master have?" The bodyguard asked. Sometimes, I also feel helpless. The third master leisurely said, these things, other than Long Qingyun, there are others who want them. If the price given by Long Qingyun is still so low, then I can only find another buyer. You don't want to cooperate with Long Qingyun. The bodyguard was a bit surprised but didn't say anything else. The third master nodded. Cooperating with the government is tantamount to asking a tiger for its skin. We have cooperated for so long, it's time to make a new choice. While speaking, a fish had already bitten the hook and was pulled up by the third master. Right now, we are like this fish that are being fed. It looks like we are living a good life, but we don't know when we will be hooked and made into a dish. What the third master said is right. The bodyguard nodded again and again. He didn't know much about these things, but the third master had been in the capital for a long time. He knew these things the best. What are you doing? Just as Master San was continuing to fish, a gunman beside him suddenly shouted. A man walked over from the opposite side. He was wearing a tiger mask on his head and holding a shotgun in his hand. Just as the gunman shouted, the tiger-headed man raised his shotgun and blasted the gunman away. Elder Sen frowned, and two black bodyguards immediately stood in front of him to protect him. The surrounding gunmen started firing, but the tiger-headed man was very calm. He picked up the corpses on the ground and used them as a shield. He stretched out one arm and raised the shotgun with one hand. He aimed at the gunmen and shot them one by one, causing them to fall to the ground. The tiger-headed man was like a Terminator warrior. Relying on a human shield, he did not miss a single shot. Very quickly, he got rid of all the gunmen. In the blink of an eye, only two black bodyguards were left standing there. More gunmen heard the noise and rushed over. But it would take some time for them to get here. The two black bodyguards took out two desert eagles and aimed at the tiger-headed man, ready to fire. But the tiger-headed man had already picked up a P-90 and fired two shots at them, causing them to fall to the ground. The tiger-headed man was Li Fan. His marksmanship was not very good in the past, but after learning from Ling Tian for a period of time, he trained his marksmanship. Who do you belong to? Elder San was also someone who had seen the world. Although he didn't expect that someone would kill their way into his territory, he still forced himself to calm down and said to Li Fan. Don't be in a hurry to make a move. Maybe you can gain more by talking to me. I'm not in a hurry to kill you. Li Fan said, I'm just here to ask you something. I'm very kind, you don't have to be afraid. Li Fan's words almost angered Elder San to death. Looking at the corpses on the ground and the lake that was dyed red, how could he not be afraid? It would be strange if he wasn't afraid. What? What do you want to ask? Third Master maintained his composure and asked. This thing, what is it? Li Fan took out a bag of white powder and waved it in front of Elder San. Immortal powder. Elder San's eyes narrowed slightly. What is this thing used for? I don't know the specifics, but I know that the effect of this thing is 100 times better than drugs. If you don't know, what's the point of keeping you alive? Li Fan's words made Elder San's heart tremble. This composition is indeed very mysterious. Although I don't know how this thing is made, I know where it is produced. Elder San's words finally moved Li Fan. Where? In an underground factory in Hebei. Elder San lowered his voice and looked around before saying to Li Fan, as long as you can spare my life, I'll tell you. Sure. Li Fan agreed without hesitation. How can I trust you? Elder San was extremely cunning. He looked at Li Fan, his eyes darting around. Bang! Li Fan shot at the pillar next to him and broke a large piece. Do you think now is the time to talk terms with me? Then kill me. Elder Sand said straightforwardly, even if I tell you, you'll still kill me. I might as well die now. I can let you go, but there's a condition. Li Fan looked at Elder Sand and threw out a condition. Say it. From now on, I'll retire from this business. If Li Fan wanted to ruin all of Long Qingyun's businesses, this was also a way. No matter where you are, I can easily find you. If I find out that you're still in this business, the next time will be the day you die. Don't worry, I'll definitely retire from this business. Elder San hurriedly swore, if I do this again, I'll be stabbed 3 times and die a horrible death. Li Fan didn't care whether what Elder San said was true or not. He had to find the place where this thing was produced as soon as possible. After Elder San gave him an address, Li Fan asked this question again. I'm not too sure, but Long Qingyun handed this part of the business to me, and every time, he would come to me on time to pick up the goods. Elder San didn't dare to offend Li Fan, so he kept selling Long Qingyun. He basically doesn't give me any money now. I can't even afford the transportation. Sure, tell me where Long Qingyun is. I don't know. This Long Qingyun, every time I talk to him, it's either remotely or by sending someone over. He never shows up in person. Elder Sand shook his head. I hate him as much as you do, but he's very cunning. Oh, Li Fan asked a few more questions, then picked up a desert eagle and pulled the bolt. Elder San was about to pee in his pants. This tiger-headed man, is he going to go back on his words? Remember what you said. Li Fan threw down such a sentence and turned to leave. Chapter 854. Li Fan returned to his rented room, sat there quietly, and began to cultivate. The television in front of him was broadcasting the news from the imperial capital. So many people died in the Dong Dong seafood factory, this matter could not be hidden. However, the matter of Phoenix Mountain Villa was not leaked at all, and Third Master blocked the news. What surprised Li Fan was that there was actually a survivor in the factory, but he did not know how he survived. He spread the news of this tiger-headed man, and this time, the whole city knew of this terrifying tiger-headed man, and was called a homicidal maniac. The entire imperial capital began to issue a warrant for this tiger-headed man, and it was really frightening, and the whole city was on guard. With such a big case, it was impossible for the higher-ups to not pay attention to it. However, Li Fan did not expose himself. He used the tiger-headed man to conceal his existence. On the television was a female anchor, dressed coquettishly, standing next to the factory, doing a live broadcast. Everyone, look at the factory behind me, because the scene inside is too horrible to look at. The police sealed this place, not allowing us to go in and film. We have communicated with the police, but the police have not given us an answer yet. Who exactly is this mysterious tiger-headed man? There is still no clear answer, and there are many rumors in the streets. Li Fan listened to the female anchor complain about these things, and at the same time, he cultivated his internal energy. He was not in a hurry to go to Hebei to find that factory, because Long Qingyun still had a few businesses under him, and Li Fan was prepared to uproot them all. When night came, Li Fan had already put on the tiger-headed man mask again, rode on his black motorcycle, and sped away. This time, Li Fan drove directly in front of a nightclub, and parked the car at the side. Although Long Qingyun was a member of an official family, he secretly supported this bar called Carnival at Dawn. According to the intelligence, there were many black businesses in this bar. Li Fan wore the tiger-headed man, and confidently walked towards the entrance of the bar. There were 2 security guards standing at the entrance, smoking. When they looked up and saw the tiger-headed man walking towards them, they were stunned for a moment. What the hell, why is he wearing a mask? Wait. Is there a homicidal maniac, tiger-headed man, recently? Hee hee, it can't be so coincidental. as the two of them muttered for a long time, Li Fan had already walked in front of them. "Stop!" Security guard suddenly yelled and glared at Li Fan. "Take off your mask." "What? Can't I wear a mask here?" Li Fan asked. "Behave yourself. This is Master Rat's territory." Security guard A felt that Li Fan did not come with good intentions, so he decided to scare him away first. At the mention of the famous Grandpa Rat, this kid was probably scared shitless. Who was Grandpa Shu? Everyone in the imperial capital knew his name. "Oh, it really is Uncle Mouse." Li Fan nodded. Grandpa Rat was one of Long Qingyun's subordinates, and he was looking for him. "Of course. We are both Master Shu's men." Security guard A reminded Li Fan, "If you want to play in the club, take off your mask. If you're here to cause trouble, then hurry up and scram." "Can I ask where Grandpa Shu is?" Li Fan asked. "Fuck, why should this father tell?" Before security guard A could finish his words, Li Fan pulled out a tiger claw dagger from his bosom and directly slit security guard A's neck. Security guard B was scared to the point of peeing. This brother is so ruthless. He directly slit his brother's neck. The blood gushed out like a fountain. It's so scary. Even these hooligans have never killed someone so ruthlessly. Homicidal maniac. This guy is the homicidal maniac in the TV. "Where is Grandpa Shu?" Li Fan asked again. Grandpa Shu hasn't come yet. He only comes here at 1 a.m. every day." Security guard B quickly said. How could he not dare to say it? "Oh, then I'll wait here for a while." Li Fan looked at the time. There's still half an hour before Grandpa Shu arrives. He nodded and then kicked the corpse of security guard A to the ground next to him. At the same time, he said to security guard B, "Take me to a private room and drink 2 glasses of wine with me." "Ah." The security guard froze for a moment. Li Fan's voice turned cold. "What, can't I?" Sure. I'll get a room for you. I'll let you have a good rest and taste our best wine." The security guard did not dare to say anything else. He quickly brought Li Fan into the bar and got him a room. When the security guard was about to go out, Li Fan put his hand on his shoulder. "I'm bored alone. Stay here and accompany me." I'll go out and get you a drink." The security guard wanted to cry. "No need. I don't drink when I'm working." Li Fan's words made the security guard desperate. "Are you afraid of me?" Li Fan pushed the security guard to the sofa and let him sit next to him. I'm afraid." When the security guard finished his words, he regretted it. If he said he was afraid, would it make other people unhappy? So he quickly changed his words. "No, I'm not afraid. You look at how kind you are." "Me and kind?" Li Fan wanted to laugh when he heard this. How can I be kind like this? He pointed at his tiger head hood. You must be kind. You won't kill people." The security guard said while trembling, "Please be merciful and let me go. I'm really a good person." "Oh. Why do you say you're a good person?" "I haven't done anything bad. Although I've been working for Grandpa Shu for 2 years, I'm just a bystander." "Why should I believe you? Why do you want to kill people?" He was obviously a hooligan, but this security guard was very timid. He hid there and shivered. He did not answer but asked Li Fan instead. "I only kill bad people. But how can you be sure that the people you kill are bad people?" the security guard asked. Li Fan pondered for a long time. "You're right. Someone asked me before. Then let me rephrase my words. The people I want to kill are those who provoke me. But I didn't provoke you. The security guard was about to cry. Well, you didn't provoke me, but the people above you provoked me. If you want to hate someone, hate yourself for following the wrong person. The security guard finally lost control. He suddenly jumped up and rushed out of the door. At the same time, he shouted, "Save!" Before the security guard could finish his words, Li Fan threw a cup on the table and smashed it on his head. He immediately fainted and lay on the ground. Li Fan looked at his watch and found that it was 12:50 in the morning. He sat on the sofa and waited for Grandpa Shu to arrive. Long Qingyun had a total of 5 or 6 businesses under him. Li Fan wanted to raid them one by one. It was almost time. Li Fan stretched and was ready to make his move. Chapter 855. Elder Shu brought 4 of his best men and entered his bar. The imperial capital's control was very strict. Many underground businesses in the imperial capital could not be established without a strong background. Fortunately, Elder Shu had a strong background. Ordinary people did not dare to touch this nightclub. The location of his nightclub was not considered remote, and there were some illegal transactions going on inside. For example, drugs and sex could be seen everywhere in his bar. One of Elder Shu's men was called One Eye. In his early years, he had peeked at women bathing and was beaten blind. However, he was not ashamed. Instead, he was proud of it. Now, under Elder Shu's command, he specialized in tricking young girls to come to this nightclub to be a hostess. Someone once said that One Eye would go to hell for doing this. However, One Eye felt that they were making a big deal out of nothing. He thought that he was helping these women. Drinking and accompanying customers in a bar could earn money. What was wrong with that? He was doing a good deed. Good deeds should go to heaven. How could he go to hell? Elder Shu admired One Eye for this, so he pulled him to his side and let him do things for him. One Eye could get at least 1 new girl a week. Elder Shu came every day and used a week to train the new girl. Then, he would let the girl officially start working. Elder Shu was the same today. One Eye had just dug out a girl who had just graduated from a nursing school. He heard that she was quite innocent. Grandpa Rat liked to play with these kinds of pure girls. He had seen too many of those kinds of flirtatious girls. Ordinary people couldn't even enter his eyes. The girl is ready. She's waiting for you in the room. One Eye rubbed his hands and smiled as he followed Elder Shu. Elder Shu was very satisfied. Good. You are the most sensible person by my side. Thank you, Elder Shu. I will continue to work hard. One Eye was very happy. Although Elder Shu was cruel and merciless, he was very generous when he needed to be. This time, he would definitely reward him with a lot of money. As expected, he did not need to worry about food and drinks if he followed Elder Shu. One Eye led Uncle Rat to room 666. He opened the door and respectfully invited Uncle Rat in. Uncle Shu opened the door, and sure enough, there was a young girl sitting inside. She was about 17 or 18 years old, and her eyes were full of innocence. She was also wearing the uniform of a certain high school in the capital. One Eye must have specially ordered her to wear it. This time, the lethality was indeed quite strong. Lord Rat felt his lower body stiffen. It was really great. It was exactly the style she wanted. Uncle Rat smiled and walked in. One Eye closed the door for him and ordered a few thugs to follow him. You know Uncle Rat's rules. No matter what happens, you are not allowed to enter the house. Do you hear me? After saying that, the footsteps of the one-eyed man gradually faded away. Lord Rat looked at the timid girl sitting on the sofa. His heart was itching to have sex with her. This was exactly the kind of taste he liked, especially the timidity in her eyes. It was all from the bottom of her heart and not an act. That's great, this is the real deal. Lord Rat licked his lips. He was very excited. Just as he was about to enjoy this girl, he suddenly felt a light breeze above his head. Lord Rat looked up and saw a man wearing a tiger mask jumping down from above. Lord Rat was very scared. He subconsciously wanted to pull out a pistol from behind his waist, but the tiger-headed man was faster. He directly hit Lord Rat's head with his palm. Bang! Li Fan pressed down on Lord Rat's head and pinned him to the ground. Lord Rat did not even have time to scream before he was smashed and fainted. Li Fan glanced at the chick who was sitting there. She seemed to be very scared, trembling with fear. Li Fan carried Lord Rat on his shoulder and said to the girl, "Don't do this anymore." After saying that, Li Fan walked over and directly knocked the girl unconscious. He carried Grandpa Shu, opened the door of the private room, and went outside. The four thugs were still standing at the door. When they saw Li Fan, they were stunned. "Who is this?" Li Fan held the tiger-tooth dagger in his hand. With a backhand hook, he instantly slit the throat of one of the thugs. Looking at their companion who was holding his neck and bleeding, the other three thugs finally reacted. Li Fan kicked one of the thugs and stepped on his crotch, causing him to scream in pain. The other two thugs took out their pistols one after another, but Li Fan was faster. The tiger claw in his hand turned and stabbed into the chest of one of the thugs. The other thug raised his gun and was about to shoot. Li Fan turned around and kicked the gun out of his hand. At the same time, he kicked the thug to the ground. The thug fainted. Li Fan carried Lord Rat and swaggered outside. On the way, when they met thugs, Li Fan directly stabbed them with his dagger and killed them instantly. Basically, these thugs would appear at regular intervals. It was like the Calabash brothers saving their grandpa, but all of them were killed by Li Fan. Lord Rat only felt a headache. When he woke up, he realized that his body was weak. Below him was a bustling traffic. The traffic was getting clearer and clearer. Lord Rat's heart suddenly started beating faster. He was actually hanging in the sky. He looked back. Indeed, there was a rope tied to his legs, hanging him on the roof of a tall building. His body was still swaying in the night wind. Lord Rat did not dare to struggle, afraid that he would fall. The tiger head was sitting on the edge of the building, seemingly taking a nap. But the tiger head realized that he was awake. He immediately turned his head and looked at him. "The scenery here is not bad, right?" The tiger head asked. "Tiger head, who are you?" Lord Rat was also someone who had seen the world. "Yesterday, the one who defeated Third Master was you, right?" "Yes, it was me." Li Fan nodded. "Don't just admire the scenery. Come, tell me, where is Long Qingyun?" Li Fan asked straightforwardly. Lord Rat sneered. "Although I don't know who you are, do you think that you can scare me, Master Shu? Aren't you afraid?" Li Fan was curious. "As long as I cut this rope, you will become a pile of meat paste. You don't dare to kill me. If you dare, you won't spend so much effort to hang me here." Lord Rat sneered. Li Fan also laughed. "That's where you're wrong. I'm just bored out of my mind. Killing you is not a big deal. Long Qingyun has so many businesses under him. If I kill you, I can tell others. What you said seems to make sense." Lord Rat nodded. "But you can't kill me." Chapter 856. I can't kill you. Are you sure? Li Fan spun the desert eagle in his hand, then aimed the muzzle at Ratty, who was hanging below. "Shoot me," Uncle Rat said calmly. "Let's see if you can kill me. This elder rat is very strong." Li Fan couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. How can he be so fearless? This is interesting. Li Fan's brain was working very fast. He was thinking about how to make Elder Rat speak. However, Elder Rat took out a bag of white powder from a hidden pocket in his sleeve. It looked like the immortal powder. Elder Rat sucked the immortal powder into his mouth. Then, his eyes began to emit a blue light. From Elder Rat's body, a strong burst of true energy suddenly erupted. His whole body flew along the rope. In the blink of an eye, he jumped on top of Li Fan's head. True energy. Li Fan was surprised. How could this guy have true energy? He was just an ordinary person before. How could he have true energy? This doesn't make sense. The only explanation was the white immortal powder. Before Li Fan could figure it out, Elder Rat had already jumped in front of him. At the same time, he slapped Li Fan's forehead. The jinchi in this palm strike was indeed not weak. At the very least, it was at the level of perfection. However, Li Fan directly raised the Desert Eagle and fired a shot at Elder Rat. The bullet hit Elder Rat's shoulder and sent him flying. Only at the level of perfection could not block a bullet. As Elder Rat's body flew out, Li Fan grabbed his leg and threw him back to the rooftop. Elder Rat was lying there. Half of his shoulder had been sent flying. His whole body was a bloody mess. However, because of the immortal powder, he was still alive. It seems like you won't be able to live for long. Li Fan squatted on the ground and looked at Elder Rat. He fell into deep thought. Hee hee. If you kill me, more people will come to kill you. I'll save a good place for you down there. After Uncle Rat said that, he raised his hand and slapped himself on the head. He killed himself with one slap. He died of suicide. Li Fan really admired this Grandpa Rat. At least he was ruthless enough. Thus, Grandpa Rat's lead was cut off. The only clue that Li Fan had was the drug refining factory in Hebei. However, before eradicating Long Qingyun's foundation in the imperial capital, Li Fan had no intention of touching that place. Don't do this in your next life. Li Fan pulled out his shotgun, aimed at Master Rat, and shot him in the head. He couldn't let anyone know about his jinchi. If outsiders saw this, they would think that Lord Rat had died at the hands of a martial artist. This could not be discovered by others, or else it would disrupt his plan. But now, it seemed that things had gone beyond Li Fan's expectations. The appearance of the immortal powder was beyond his expectations. It was a kind of medicinal powder that could allow ordinary people to possess true energy after eating it. Although he didn't know what the side effects were, it was already very powerful. After taking care of Elder Rat, Li Fan started to study other industries. The sun rose quietly, and everything returned to normal. These few days, the imperial capital was in an uproar. In just a few days, another group of people had been killed by the tiger-headed man. Such a big nightclub had been wiped out in the blink of an eye. Even the nightclub's manager, Yang Xiaosu, had been brutally murdered. This was like a slap in the face to the imperial capital, which was known as the safest city. Solve the case. We must solve it within a week. In the imperial capital police station, the chief was furious with everyone. This matter had been classified as the January 25th case. The higher-ups had also given a hard target. They must arrest the tiger-headed man within a week. However, the tiger-headed man seemed to come and go without a trace. Even when the whole city was looking for him, he still destroyed 2 industries in the imperial capital. One was a bath, and the other was a game hall. Although it wasn't a particularly big place, many people had died. Adding up the 4 cases, there were more than 100 people who had died. This wasn't a small number. It was almost like a natural disaster. If you can't solve the case, you can all go home and farm. The chief roared. It wasn't that he wanted to lose his temper, but the people above him were also losing their temper. The chief's anger could burn everything, but the tiger-headed man wasn't someone that could be caught so easily. Chief Zhang, we have already carefully investigated the scene. However, not only is the tiger-headed man's whereabouts strange, he also knows how to use anti-reconnaissance methods. He didn't leave any fingerprints or DNA at the scene. We can't find any information about him. What about the cameras? When he left the crime scenes, he rode a black motorcycle. We have the Skynet. Can't we find where his motorcycle went? We have searched. The subordinate immediately reported. However, every time his motorcycle entered a tunnel, it would disappear from the camera. Moreover, no matter which tunnel he went, he would disappear without a trace. It was like he had evaporated into thin air. Nonsense. Who would evaporate into thin air? Look at the surveillance at that time. Did you see any trucks coming out of the tunnel? This tiger-headed man is very cunning. It's very likely that he hid in the truck and took the opportunity to hide the motorcycle. We have also thought of this possibility, but we have also investigated the trucks that came out at the same time as him. There was no problem with them. These policemen were also at their wits' end. They didn't understand that when Li Fan left the tunnel, he used true qi to reflect light. Although he couldn't make himself completely invisible, he could temporarily block his figure from the cameras. Especially the place where he rented a house, which was a very remote area, the police's Skynet was not deployed there. Although the imperial capital had a powerful Skynet system, it couldn't cover every corner of the city. However, Li Fan would eventually miscalculate. Actually, it's very easy to find the suspect. An old police officer took out a map and circled a few areas on it. Look, when the suspect left the crime scene, he went in this direction. From this, we can infer that the suspect is probably in this direction, which is this area. Only in this area, the police's Skynet is not fully deployed. As long as we block this area, we will definitely be able to find the suspect's car. Once the car is locked, we will naturally find the suspect. Good. This method is feasible. The chief nodded. Immediately deploy the surveillance and find the suspect. Our time is limited. Act now. Yes. All the policemen in the imperial capital started to move and began to search for the whereabouts of this tiger-headed man. At the same time, it wasn't just the policemen who were furious. Long Qingyun was also cursing. Chapter 857. Damn it. Who the hell is destroying my property? Long Qingyun smashed his phone and sat in front of his desk, his eyes flashing with anger. One of his underlings stood beside him with his head lowered, not daring to make a sound. Who the hell is so daring to find trouble with me? Long Qingyun is currently doing very well in the imperial capital. His anti-mutant equipment is very useful, capturing many mutants, locking them up and sending them for research. Now Long Qingyun only has one business left, a KTV in the south of the imperial capital. This KTV is Long Qingyun's biggest business, but for the past few days, the KTV has not opened for business. But the door is still open, waiting for one person, the tiger-headed man. Long Qingyun understood, this tiger-headed man is here for him. Almost all the businesses in the imperial capital have been uprooted, he will definitely not let this last one go. Now the entire KTV is a huge trap, waiting to swallow the tiger-headed man. He usually makes a move once every 2 days. The underling reported, tonight, he will come to our KTV. Good. Long Qingyun took out a box and placed it on the table. This is the latest super weapon, I will give it to you, use it to deal with the tiger-headed man. The opponent should be an ordinary person, probably a mercenary trained by some place, or a retired agent. With your ability, plus this super weapon, you should be able to easily kill him. N. The underling nodded, my life was saved by you, no matter what you want me to do, even if I have to sacrifice my life, I will definitely save him. N. You have always been loyal, I know. Long Qingyun nodded, don't worry, not long after, you will no longer need to do these things for me. At that time, I will arrange some suitable work for you, let you do something respectable. But, who will help you? Chongguang hurriedly asked. The Terminator is about to be developed. Long Qingyun laughed, we have already signed an agreement with the US, this first Terminator will be used by us. Is the Terminator really useful? Chongguang was still doubtful. Is something developed by the Americans reliable? It's quite reliable, and our technology is also in it. Long Qingyun could not help but sigh, the most unfortunate thing is that we were unable to take back X's body. If he could get it back, the Terminator's skills would be even more perfect. Alright, let's not talk about this anymore. Go and get ready. Tonight, I must make this brat die. Yes. Chongguang went down and waited for Li Fan to walk into the trap. Light of Hope KTV was the name of Long Qingyun's KTV. It looked like a very formal KTV. But in fact, underneath this KTV was an underground casino. It was impossible to come here to play without someone to lead the way. The casino had always implemented a member recommendation system. Only when 3 members recommended at the same time could a new member be admitted. Without membership, it was impossible to enter the casino. Shutting down for 2 days was a huge blow to the casino. Normally, a casino's daily turnover was about 2 million. If it didn't operate, it would lose more than 1 million every day. If it didn't operate, Long Qingyun would probably have to spend all his money. Thus, Long Qingyun's mood was even more anxious than Li Fan. But what made Long Qingyun uncomfortable was that the tiger-headed man actually did not come for a week. Not being able to operate for a week, the casino was losing money. Long Qingyun could not take it anymore. Before he vomited blood, he finally decided to resume his business. Because it had been closed for a long time, many gamblers did not know about it. Thus, the casino's business was rather dull. A man in a black suit walked into the KTV. He was different from the normal customers. Normal customers would at most wear a hat, but he was wearing a tiger-headed mask. Fuck. The tiger-headed man. A KTV thug was so scared that he almost peed his pants. He subconsciously pulled out a gun from his waist and aimed at Li Fan. But Li Fan directly reached forward, grabbed his pistol, and easily removed the clip on it. The thug on the other side was taken aback. Li Fan added another kick and sent him flying. The thug fell on the counter behind him, knocking over all the drinks on the counter. The tiger-headed man is here. The thugs in the KTV rushed over, ready to kill the tiger-headed man in exchange for a large sum of money from their boss. Li Fan held 2 desert eagles in both hands, wore a black suit, and wore a tiger-headed mask. He was like Brother Ma, continuously firing his gun, each shot knocking down a thug. No matter where the thug came from, as long as he showed his head, he would be shot dead. Li Fan was like the Grim Reaper. After entering, he went on a killing spree, killing all the thugs that showed their faces. Soon, there were no more thugs in the hall. The remaining thugs hid behind the wall or under the counter, not daring to show their faces. But Li Fan seemed to have seen them. He directly walked over and fired at the place where they were hiding. Li Fan stood in the hall and looked left and right. Then, he walked forward, pulled out his shotgun, and suddenly fired at the wall in front of him. Bang! The wall was directly smashed, revealing a passageway inside. Li Fan walked in and followed the passageway downstairs. There was a huge underground casino below, and a few fair-legged beauties in bunny clothes were busy evacuating the crowd. Seeing the tiger-headed man walk in, these people screamed and ran even faster. A group of mercenaries in special combat suits suddenly rushed out from their hiding place. Chongguang carried a big box on his back and walked over. He looked at Li Fan with a mocking smile. "Tiger-headed man, is it? After so many days, you finally arrived. I'd like to see what kind of face you have under that mask." Saying that, the mercenaries pointed their guns at Li Fan. But Li Fan did not panic. He kicked over the mahjong table beside him and blocked in front of him. Two. Bang, bang, bang. Bullets continuously hit the table. It was unknown what material the table was made of, but it did not break. In fact, they did not know that Li Fan had secretly used some true qi to strengthen the table, temporarily turning it into a cover. More than a dozen mercenaries armed with live ammunition shot at Li Fan as they approached. However, at this time, a green grenade suddenly rolled over and landed at their feet. Grenade! The mercenaries' expressions changed, and they all fled in all directions. Li Fan took the opportunity to walk out and started shooting in the midst of the explosion, killing all the mercenaries. Chapter 858. Li Fan held a machine gun in his hand and pulled the trigger. Flames engulfed the bodies of the mercenaries. None of the mercenaries could escape. In the blink of an eye, all the mercenaries were torn to pieces by Li Fan. This machine gun was seized by Li Fan from Long Qingyun's bath a few days ago. That bath was practically an arsenal. Ordinary people would never think that there would be such a place in the imperial capital. The imperial capital was known as a safe place, but every city had its dark side. Right now, Li Fan was cleaning up the dark side of the imperial capital. When the flames from the explosion dissipated, the only person left alive was Chongguang. He looked at Li Fan as he injected himself with the angel potion and put down the box on his back. Li Fan had just finished firing. He threw the machine gun to the side and pulled out the Desert Eagle. Chongguang had already kicked open the box. There was a great sword inside. There were some strange energy blocks embedded in the great sword. It was unknown what they were used for. Li Fan fired a shot at Chongguang, but Chongguang raised his great sword. The bullets suddenly stopped in front of Chongguang and fell to the ground with a clang. Li Fan raised his eyebrows slightly. It seemed that there was something fishy about his sword. Chongguang raised his great sword and swung it with force. A strange force immediately spread out. The surrounding tables and chairs were all crushed by this force and scattered on the ground. Li Fan also felt a wave of pressure on his body. It was as if he had become dozens of times heavier. Li Fan knelt on the ground and could not raise his gun. This is a weapon with super gravity. It's like a divine weapon against mortals like you. Chongguang raised his great sword and walked toward Li Fan step by step. Actually, as long as Li Fan used his true energy, Chongguang's gravity would have no effect on him. However, Li Fan still planned to hide his strength. He would not use his true energy until the last moment. Li Fan's fingers hooked out a grenade from his pocket and threw it on the ground. Chongguang glanced at him while Li Fan closed his eyes. A strong light flashed, and Chongguang's eyes turned white from the light. He couldn't see anything for a moment. He immediately gripped his sword tightly and allowed gravity to envelop his surroundings, wrapping around his body and protecting him. By the time his vision recovered, Li Fan had disappeared. He had no idea where he was hiding. Chong Guang sneered. He took out a pair of high-tech glasses and put them on. His vision had completely changed. The room was dyed red, and all the objects with body heat were reflected in his eyes. But the ground was littered with corpses, and there was no sign of Li Fan. Chong Guang frowned. He held his sword and looked around for Li Fan. Chong Guang raised his sword and searched for Li Fan. At this moment, a bullet suddenly appeared in front of him and stopped less than 10 centimeters in front of him. A sniper bullet. Chong Guang broke out in cold sweat when he saw the sniper bullet fall to the ground. The tiger-headed man had already hidden himself when he retracted his gravity. Moreover, he was standing far away and aiming at him with a sniper rifle. But where was the tiger-headed man hiding? The hall was so big, but there was no energy reaction from the tiger-headed man. Clang! Another sniper bullet arrived in front of him. This time, the distance was even closer. Chong Guang broke out in cold sweat. He looked in the direction of the bullet and saw a weak energy light in another room. Damn it! How did this bastard run so far away in an instant and hit me so accurately with a room between us? Bang! The third sniper bullet hit Chong Guang's forehead. Although it didn't break Chong Guang's forehead due to the gravity, it still hurt his head. Chong Guang screamed in pain and took a step back while holding his head. Bang! The fourth sniper bullet tore through Chong Guang's gravity defense and exploded his head. Chong Guang's headless corpse fell to the ground, and the super greatsword fell to the side. Li Fan carried the sniper rifle and looked at the hole in the wall. Then, he walked to Chong Guang's side. He picked up the super greatsword and looked at it carefully. This sword seemed to have an extraordinary ability, but it was just a sword. How did it do it? Li Fan looked at the energy block on the sword and found that it had dimmed. It seemed that the sword needed to replenish its energy in order to activate its ability. Li Fan gave it a try and poured his innate qi into it. The radiance of the energy block lit up again. Li Fan had always had a guess. In this world, be it true qi, superpowers, or other powers, they were all pure energy. Even the food people ate usually replenished this kind of energy. Energy could be converted into each other. Therefore, his true qi could activate by Lin Luo's good guy card and replenish the super greatsword's energy. Li Fan raised the greatsword. There was a switch on it. He pressed the switch, and a gravitational force appeared around him. As for Li Fan, something like an aura field appeared on his body, wrapping him up, preventing him from being affected by gravity. This thing was really strange. Just what did Long Qingyun develop? In his plan, this thing seemed to be of some use. Just as Li Fan was about to put away the greatsword, Chong Guang's phone rang. Li Fan took out the phone and wiped the blood on Chong Guang's body. Then, he picked up the call. Chong Guang, how's it going? A familiar voice came from the other side of the phone. Chief Long, when can we meet? Li Fan asked in a low voice. Tigerman. Long Qingyun's voice froze. He seemed to be shocked. That's right. I've been looking for you for so long. I'm so sincere. Isn't it about time for you to come out and meet me? Li Fan asked with a smile. Who the hell are you? Why did you provoke me? You'll know when you meet me. Li Fan said, you probably dream of me every day and night. Don't worry, give me an address. I'll meet you right now. You think you're very powerful. Long Qingyun's voice carried a hint of anger, as if it contained thunder. From the moment you provoked me, you were destined to die. You must be a Chinibu. Li Fan laughed. If that was the case, would your business in the imperial capital be uprooted by me? You can continue to hide. I'll see how long you can hide. Fu Long Mountain Villa, come over. Long Qingyun coldly snorted. If you have the guts. Chapter 859. Hidden Dragon Mountain Villa. This is a very famous villa area in the imperial capital. The people who live here are either rich or noble. Long Qingyun lived in this place, and his villa was on guard at this time. Many sweeper in dark green uniforms, all holding special firearms, hovered beside the villa. Long Qingyun could only rely on himself to solve this matter. He could not rely on others. He was in charge of a lot of sweeper, and now it came in handy. What made Long Qingyun most distressed was not the money lost by his casino these few days, nor the lost properties. With his status, these things were gone, although he was unhappy, but sooner or later he could get them back. Night had fallen, and Li Fan arrived as promised. He rode a motorcycle, all the way to the Hidden Dragon Mountain Villa. It was already late, and the moon hung in the sky, with a faint yellow halo. The black night filled the entire sky, and the villas in the district were all lit up, reflecting the surrounding yards. Li Fan squatted on the wall outside and looked at the largest villa in front of him. The villa was located next to a lake, and many sweeper patrolled around the villa to protect the safety of the villa. Li Fan gathered his true qi on his eyes, and his eyes immediately turned golden. The darkness seemed to be dispelled, and in Li Fan's vision, all the scenery was dyed with a layer of golden red. Judging from the color of these people's energy, there was no martial artist here. However, in the villa, there was a person with a strange energy light, and he didn't know which expert he was. Li Fan had never seen this kind of light before. It didn't belong to the martial artist, it didn't belong to the mutant, and it didn't belong to those European paladins. A new warrior. But no matter who it was, he had to pass this stage. Li Fan directly put on his mask and swaggered into the villa. The sweeper on the opposite side quickly saw a tiger-headed man walking over confidently, and they were stunned for a moment. This guy really came, but why did he come straight over? Could it be that there was something fishy? These people were guessing, and the tiger-headed man had already walked in front of them with a big sword in his left hand. Immediately after, the tiger-headed man waved his big sword, and all the sweepers immediately felt their bodies sink, and they all knelt on the ground. The moppers around the mansion all fell to the ground with a thud. Li Fan didn't rely on his own true qi, but used this super big sword to easily deal with the sweepers around him. He held a silenced pistol in his right hand, and fired repeatedly at the sweepers. The sweeper couldn't dodge at all, and they were all killed by Li Fan's pistol. Li Fan walked into the courtyard of the villa, and the big sword in his hand almost became a sealed artifact. Within 100 meters of him, everyone would be pressed to the ground by the pressure. Long Qingyun, have you washed up? Yours truly is coming. Li Fan shouted at the villa. However, the good times did not last long. Before Li Fan could be arrogant, the window on the second floor was suddenly pushed open, and 4 figures descended from the sky. Each of these 4 figures was wearing strange mechanical equipment, which made them look very strange. They were carrying a large device on their backs. With this device, they were able to move freely under the superpower greatsword's gravity field. The 4 of them raised the special firearms in their hands at the same time and opened fire at Li Fan. Strange red lasers shot out from their guns and swept towards Li Fan's body. Li Fan could feel the powerful force contained in the laser. He rolled on the ground, dodging the laser that was shooting at him, and jumped behind the wall of the house. The laser swept across a big tree behind Li Fan, directly turning the tree into charcoal. The greatsword's gravity field had no effect on this kind of laser. Li Fan wanted to use his true qi to sense the location of these people, but they seemed to have even blocked his true qi, so he could not sense them at all. What the hell? What kind of tricks were these people playing? It seemed that this was a new humanoid weapon for the sweeper. That set of equipment should be able to render all kinds of energy useless, including his true chi. It might not have any effect either. However, true chi was only one kind of martial fighter's power. Li Fan still had his strengthened body. These guys might not be able to take a punch from him. However, he could not expose the fact that he was a martial fighter. Li Fan decided to take the risk and change his strategy. He quietly poked his head out and fired a shot at one of the sweeper. However, the bullet stopped in front of the sweeper and slowly fell to the ground. Gravity field. These guys also had a magnetic field that controlled gravity. In that case, Li Fan's gun would be useless. Li Fan seemed to be able to hear Long Qingyun's mocking laughter. He had confidently come over to kill him, but now he was blocked outside. He could not even deal with 4 sweepers. Li Fan lowered his head and looked at the superpower greatsword in his hand. This thing was quite sharp, but if the other party had a gravity field, his superpower greatsword might not be able to cut through it. This was troublesome. Just as Li Fan was feeling depressed, a sweeper had already rushed in front of him. At the same time, it shot at Li Fan. Li Fan dodged in a sorry state again. If this continued, it would be too disadvantageous for him. At this time, Long Qingyun finally showed himself. Beside him was a man wearing a black iron mask. He slowly walked out of the villa and stood in the courtyard, smiling as he looked at the sorry state of the tiger-headed man. He, didn't you say that you were here to kill me? Long Qingyun was very arrogant under the protection of 4 super sweepers. With these 4 super sweepers, he was basically invincible. A super sweeper suddenly descended from the sky and landed in front of Li Fan. At the same time, he raised his laser gun. Li Fan waved his superpower greatsword and slashed down. Although these super sweepers had a gravity field, it could only cover a distance of about 5 centimeters from their bodies. The laser gun that was raised was useless. It was directly cut in half by Li Fan's greatsword. After Li Fan cut a laser gun in half, he rolled on the ground and turned around to hide behind a nearby house. "Ha, you're quite smart." Long Qingyun laughed. "However, do you think that by cutting a laser gun in half, you can win against my super sweeper?" Long Qingyun was very confident. But Li Fan suddenly appeared and once again cut another super sweeper's laser gun in half. But the super sweeper suddenly stretched out his hands, directly lifted Li Fan's body up, and then fiercely threw him out, smashing into a tree behind him. Bam! Li Fan's body smashed into the tree and fell on the grass behind. An ordinary person dares to challenge my authority. What a joke! Long Qingyun shouted, "It's time for you to pay the price." Chapter 860. One of the super sweeper's legs bounced off the ground and his whole body jumped up. Like a cannonball, he instantly appeared in front of Li Fan. He raised both of his hands high, cupped his fists in the air, and then fiercely smashed down towards Li Fan. Li Fan rolled on the ground and dodged to the side. Rumble! A pit was formed on the ground, and dust and rocks flew up. Li Fan was in a sorry state. He crawled up, and his tiger mask was already covered in dust. The machines on their bodies seemed to be able to strengthen their strength. These super sweepers have a new type of bone machine. Long Qingyun proudly said, "They are all troops created with the most powerful technology in the world. These people can not only eliminate the mutant superpowers, but also strengthen their own physical fitness, far exceeding ordinary people by 10 times. As he spoke, another super sweeper ran in front of Li Fan and kicked towards Li Fan's abdomen. Long Qingyun was waiting for this man to be kicked by the super sweeper. Challenging his authority, this is the result. However, Li Fan jumped to the side and narrowly dodged. Bang! A small tree that was as thick as a bowl behind Li Fan was directly broken by his kick. Hide, let's see how long you can hide for. Long Qingyun sneered, don't struggle anymore, you won't live for long. As he spoke, the two super sweepers had already arrived at Li Fan's side. The two attacked from the left and right, and attacked Li Fan at the same time. The smile on Long Qingyun's face became wider and wider. He looked at Li Fan as if he was looking at a dead man. The two super sweepers' fists arrived at the side of Li Fan's cheek. In Long Qingyun's heart, this troublemaker tiger-headed person would be beaten into meat paste in the next second. But he was disappointed. The tiger-headed person suddenly stretched out his hands and directly grabbed the heads of the two super sweepers, slamming their heads together. Bang! The two super sweepers directly fainted from the collision. Although the two of them were immune to the energy around the field, Li Fan's strong body was a result of real training. That was the result of his daily hard training, as well as countless life and death battles to temper himself. Even if true qi had no effect, Li Fan's physical strength had long surpassed that of an ordinary person by more than 10 times. What? Long Qingyun was shocked. He couldn't believe his eyes. As Tigerhead slowly walked towards him, the remaining two super wipers immediately activated their laser guns and opened fire at Li Fan. However, Li Fan's body shifted left and right, causing the opponent's laser beam to miss. Who the hell are you? Long Qingyun was a little shocked. The strength and skills displayed by this fellow were definitely not ordinary. Have you heard of the angel potion? Li Fan would not tell the truth. He would just let this guy guess. However, when he heard the name Angel Potion, Long Qingyun seemed to understand something. It really is the Angel Potion. Which country sent you as a secret agent? Hi, Long Qingyun, am the honorary president of the League of Nations. I have the same interests as all the big countries. We shouldn't be enemies. No, we are enemies. Li Fan clenched his fist. Long Qingyun, I am here to collect a debt on behalf of the King of Hell. With that, Li Fan took a few steps forward. Leaving an afterimage, he suddenly appeared in front of the two super wipers. Li Fan waved the sword in his hand, and the heads of the two people were directly sent flying. Under the effect of his strength, even if there was a gravitational field, Li Fan could still completely overcome it. Looking at the two headless corpses beside him, Long Qingyun only frowned. He was also a person who had seen great winds and waves. This kind of scene was not enough to scare him. I underestimated you. Long Qingyun looked at Li Fan with his hands behind his back. Long Qingyun, your time is up. Li Fan once again pulled out his gun and pointed it at Long Qingyun. I won't listen to your last words. Goodbye. If he killed Long Qingyun, then the factory in Hebei would not run away. Li Fan did not plan to get any useful information from Long Qingyun. He was a veteran, and some things must be taken to the grave. You think that I, Long Qingyun, only have this kind of means? Long Qingyun smiled without a care. Since you want to kill me, at least first find out who I, Long Qingyun, am. Go to hell and introduce yourself to the King of Hell. Li Fan pulled the trigger and the bullet flew towards Long Qingyun. Long Qingyun's expression did not change. At this time, a figure descended from the sky and directly slapped the bullet away. This figure was not particularly tall, about the same height as Li Fan. He wore a black mask on his face, blocking his face. Who is this person? Li Fan gathered his qi on his eyes and found out that this was the person with the strange energy. Country Bumpkin, let me give you a grand introduction. This person's code name is Terminator, the most advanced humanoid weapon of America. Long Qingyun proudly introduced, his strength far exceeds these super sweeper. No matter who you are, you will die soon. I guess the King of Hell will not remember your name. Li Fan didn't believe it. He fired 3 shots in a row. Bang, bang, bang. The 3 bullets were all slapped away by this so-called Terminator, as if he was swatting a fly. Li Fan's heart was beating like a drum. What is this Terminator? Although there was a unique energy in the other party's body, it gave off a strange feeling. Terminator 0, kill him. Long Qingyun ordered. The Terminator immediately turned his head, his eyes seemed to be staring at Li Fan through the gap of the mask. Li Fan felt a chill. The Terminator stretched out his right palm, aimed at Li Fan, and a strong wind pressure burst out from his palm. Like a palm wind, it directly pressed down on Li Fan. Li Fan's body stiffened, and then he was hit by the palm and flew out. His body directly smashed through the wall behind him, smashing into the room. The gravel pressed down on his body, and the dust stimulated his sense of smell. That palm strike was indeed very damaging. The Terminator can actually burst out such a strong palm wind. This palm has at least the strength of 5 dragons. Li Fan's gun also fell to the side, and when he was about to grab it, the Terminator suddenly appeared in front of Li Fan, then turned around and kicked. It was a white deer door kick, heading straight for Li Fan's face. Li Fan was shocked. He raised his hands in front of his body to block the opponent's kick. The Terminator did not move an inch, and Li Fan was kicked again, this time smashing through the house and into the backyard. Li Fan rolled on the ground, removing the force from his body, and climbed up again, vigilantly looking at the opposite Terminator. How is this possible? It's a white deer door kick. Isn't this my 7 Heroes fist? How can it be used by an outsider? Chapter 861. Li Fan was shocked. The Fist of 7 Heroes was a skill he had created himself. How could an outsider learn it other than his own disciples? The Fist of 7 Heroes looked simple, like an ordinary Xingyiquan. But there were thousands of changes hidden within, and it could not be replicated. Even Jin Jiuma, who was proficient in Xingyiquan, could not learn the essence of Li Fan's style. But against this Terminator, he actually fought well, and there was even a little bit of essence in it. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, Li Fan would have thought that it was his past self who was doing it. The Terminator took a step forward, stretched out his hands, and slowly lowered his body. An aura appeared around him. Li Fan could feel the aura of the Black Tiger Emperor. How was this possible? Without waiting for Li Fan to think, the Terminator pounced on Li Fan like a ferocious tiger. His hands were like tiger claws, and he launched a series of attacks at Li Fan. It was like a real tiger attacking Li Fan. Li Fan only needed to hit the tiger to send the opponent flying, but that would expose his identity. Li Fan kept retreating. At the same time, he unsheathed his super sword and used its gravitational field. But the Terminator's body sank, and he was able to resist the tenfold gravitational field. His left hand grabbed Li Fan. Papa Bear Pile Driver. Such a familiar move, but now it was being used on Li Fan. The Terminator slammed Li Fan into the ground. The Terminator lifted his foot again, preparing to follow up with the ape stamp. Bang! Li Fan dodged, and his foot left a footprint on the ground. Don't waste your time. You can't escape. The Terminator's power is not something you can imagine. He knows the Fist of 7 Heroes, which is in the top 10 of the Divine Crafts chart. I'm not a complete Terminator. I only have the Black Tiger Emperor's genes. But just this one is enough to kill you. Long Qingyun's words caused Li Fan to pay attention. What did he mean? Did these people use his own genes to create Terminators? Li Fan was now working for the government, so it was inconvenient for him to do certain things. He thought for a moment and decided that he couldn't just sit around and wait for death. Since others knew the 7 heroes fished, why couldn't he use it? When Li Fan thought of his tiger head cover, he mustered up his courage and lowered his body. Then, he used Tiger Strike. For a martial arts expert like Li Fan, he only needed to use the Tiger Strike art to defeat the Black Tiger Emperor. Another black tiger steals the heart. But Li Fan's body suddenly pressed down on the ground, both hands grabbing the ground like a fierce tiger, and just like that, he dodged the Terminator's attack. At the same time, Li Fan's body bounced up again. He lifted his claw and tore the Terminator's mask. Then, Li Fan followed up with a kick. With a tiger tail whip, the Terminator's body was kicked back a step. The Terminator regained his balance. Li Fan looked at him and felt a chill down his spine. The person in front of him actually had the same face as him. Although there were some differences, they were basically the same. His own genes. Terminator, Li Fan seemed to understand something. This Terminator was a warrior created from his own genes. The energy in his body was most likely a fusion of many genes. Seeing his face, all the more you can't live. Long Qingyun laughed, this Terminator's existence is still a secret. The Terminator leaped forward and launched another wave of attacks towards Li Fan. The strength of each of his claws could tear through the air. If it was someone who wasn't familiar with him, they might really think that it was Li Fan who was punching. And Li Fan took advantage of the gap in the Terminator's attack and directly hit the Terminator's chest with a Black Tiger Mountain Climb, causing the Terminator to take a step back. Li Fan followed up with a Black Tiger Mountain Climb. His palm grabbed the Terminator's cheek and fiercely smashed the Terminator's head into the ground. Li Fan pressed down on the Terminator's head and dragged him forward for more than 10 meters. Blood and dust flew everywhere. Even the Terminator, in the face of the angry Li Fan, was afraid. Impossible. Seeing Li Fan casually throw the Terminator to the side, Long Qingyun was shocked. You are actually a martial artist. And your Tiger Strike, who did you learn it from? Your people know the Black Tiger Emperor, why can't I know the Tiger Strike? This kind of basic skill, I can easily learn it. Li Fan pretended to be arrogant. All right, the hindrance has been taken care of. It's time to settle our debts. Li Fan was about to walk forward when the Terminator behind him suddenly jumped up again. The Terminator's head was a bloody mess, but he injected a syringe into his right hand and his body immediately began to recover. Angel medicine. This guy's body was indeed strange. A dose of angel medicine could restore his body's functions, it was really powerful. After the Terminator used the angel medicine, his strength also increased. He suddenly pounced forward, both hands grabbing at Li Fan's head. The Black Tiger Emperor's attack rhythm was very fast, like a ferocious tiger coming out of its cage. And because he had Li Fan's genes, the Terminator's attacks had almost no openings. Li Fan couldn't even find an opportunity to defend and counterattack. Against the Black Tiger Emperor, using the Snake Strike or the Dragon Emperor's Snake was the best. But Li Fan had to hide his skills, so he could only use the Tiger Strike. His back was facing Long Qingyun, and he immediately gathered his chi in his eyes, looking for the Terminator's weakness. The Terminator's body was almost perfect, because it was created as a human, so it was more perfect than a normal person. Without waiting for Li Fan to find a weakness, the Terminator's claws had already reached his ears. Li Fan's body once again crouched down, barely dodging the Terminator's attack. This guy's martial arts were similar to his, so to deal with him would require a bit of skill. Li Fan jumped forward, pulling away from the Terminator. Ha ha ha. Do you see, in front of my powerful Terminator, you can only die. Long Qingyun laughed proudly, this Terminator was indeed powerful. Although it's only the first-generation Terminator, its strength and abilities are not perfect. But to deal with you people, it's really easy. Do you understand? In front of us, you're just an ant. All I need to do is move my mouth, and I can kill you. Li Fan looked at the proud Long Qingyun, laughing coldly in his heart. Be happy, you won't be happy for long. The Terminator once again appeared in front of Li Fan. Unexpectedly, he also used a black tiger climbing the mountain, directly hit Li Fan in the chest, causing him to fall into a state of paralysis, and then smashed his head to the ground. Li Fan lay there, motionless. Ha ha ha. Long Qingyun laughed, finally dead. Chapter 862. Long Qingyun slowly walks over, preparing to see the Tiger Man's true face. Just as he approaches the Tiger Man, the Terminator, who has been standing motionless, suddenly steps forward, blocking Long Qingyun's path. The tiger-headed man leaped up, raised his claws, and pulled on the Terminator's body, tearing his chest apart. The Terminator once again injects the angel elixir, quickly healing the wound on his chest. You're not dead. Long Qingyun's face changes. Who said I'm dead? Li Fan smiles, patting the dust off his clothes. My suit is very expensive. Terminator, kill him. Long Qingyun is already impatient. This Tiger Man is like a cockroach, unexpectedly not dying. I can't drag this any longer, although I have forbidden outsiders from entering, it won't last long. I must kill this Tiger Man before the police arrive, then use him as a warning to others who want to provoke me. The Terminator's injury has already healed. He once again enters the Black Tiger Emperor form, leaping towards Li Fan. But Li Fan's speed is even faster. Before the Terminator even reaches him, he directly uses the Black Tiger steals the heart, directly hitting the Terminator's chest. Li Fan's hand pulls out from the Terminator's back. In his hand is a still beating heart. Long Qingyun's eyes widen. The Terminator that he worked so hard to get was defeated just like that. Li Fan shakes the blood off his hand, glancing at Long Qingyun. This time it's just the two of us. Li Fan moves his body and asks. Don't look down on my Terminator. Long Qingyun glares, growling like a wild beast. At this time, the Terminator whose heart was crushed by Li Fan suddenly raises his head, coldly looking at Li Fan. Li Fan felt very strange in his heart. This feeling of being stared at by himself was as strange as it could be. Moreover, his heart was crushed. This guy is still alive. What kind of life force is this? The Terminator's palm exploded with power, pushing Li Fan away. At the same time, the Terminator took out a devil syringe and injected it into his body. Roar! The Terminator's body trembled as he let out a bestial roar. Li Fan was hit head-on by the sound wave, and his body slid backward for more than 3 meters. Bang! Li Fan hit the wall behind him, and the wall caved in. The Terminator's body suddenly expanded, and his clothes were torn. He was almost 2 meters tall, and his muscles bulged like a little rock. Boom! The Terminator jumped over again and swiped at Li Fan with its tiger claws, but Li Fan barely dodged it. The Terminator punched a hole in the wall. Fortunately, Li Fan dodged in time. Otherwise, he would have torn a hole in his chest. Good heavens, after this fellow ate the demonic potion, he became even more ferocious. There was a big hole in his chest, but he still continued to fight with her. After all, he was an android, and this was beyond the scope of a human. Even if it was Li Fan himself, if his heart was destroyed, he would probably die a violent death. Boom! Boom! The Terminator scratched the wall several times in a row, digging holes one after another. He was like a demolition team, constantly smashing the wall in front of him. It was as if the stone wall was like paper to him. The main thing was that this guy had strengthened himself 3 times. Kill him. We must kill him. Long Qingyun ordered his Terminator as he retreated, preparing to escape from this place. The Terminator was very powerful, but Long Qingyun's eyelids twitched very quickly. He kept having a bad feeling. Where do you think you're going? Li Fan took advantage of Long Qingyun's time to circulate his true qi throughout his body. At the same time, his body turned into a blur, and he directly grabbed the Terminator's head and plucked it off. Blood spurted out. The Terminator was finally killed by Li Fan. The headless corpse fell to the ground, and Li Fan looked at the head in his hand. In one's life, how many times could one see their head cut off? Li Fan had only been here once, and it was still fresh in his memory. Fuck. Li Fan threw his head to the side, then looked at Long Qingyun, who had already fled to the side of the car. In the past, the driver drove for Long Qingyun, but today, Long Qingyun had to drive himself. He sat in his Mercedes-Benz, stepped on the accelerator to the end, and prepared to escape from this place. Long Qingyun cursed in his heart. Where did this tiger-headed man come from? How could he have such means? This time, it was really an accident. Long Qingyun really had the intention to kill. It was a pity that he did not have much combat power, so he could not waste time with the tiger-headed man. Long Qingyun started the car, stepped on the accelerator, and the Mercedes-Benz sped up. However, the acceleration of the Mercedes-Benz was not too strong. After all, it was the boss's business car, and stability was important. Seeing that the tiger-headed man was blocking in front of his car, Long Qingyun stepped on the accelerator, wishing that he was driving a rocket. The car crashed into Li Fan, but Li Fan suddenly jumped up. His legs were like cannonballs, instantly breaking the car's glass, kicking Long Qingyun's face, and kicking him out of the car, causing him to fall to the ground. The car continued to drive out and crashed into the wall in front of it. With a bang, the airbag popped out, but the two of them were already in the back seat. Li Fan grabbed Long Qingyun's head and slammed him against the glass. Long Qingyun, goodbye. Li Fan squeezed Long Qingyun's head, no longer planning to let him live. If you kill me, it won't do you any good. Long Qingyun had difficulty breathing. He suppressed his voice and said to Li Fan, "If you let me go, I will forget about this matter. At that time, the two of us will go our separate ways. I can even give you a sum of money to let you go far away and live a carefree life. What do you think? I am indeed short of money." Li Fan smiled, but compared to money, I want something else. What do you want? I can give it to you. You can't give it to me. Then what is it? Justice. Li Fan said and was about to kill Long Qingyun. Wait. Long Qingyun suddenly shouted, "Even if I die, you should let me die knowing the reason." Who are you? Long Qingyun, think about whose brother you have messed with. Li Fan did not take off his mask, but threw out such a sentence. Li Fan. Long Qingyun suddenly knew Li Fan's identity. A chill spread from Long Qingyun's bone marrow, and at the same time, Long Qingyun's internal organs, causing him to feel a chill to the depths of his soul. In order to kill me, you actually hid your strength for so long, hiding in the imperial capital. Yes, you are welcome. This is what I should do. Chapter 863. Even if you kill me, you won't be able to run away. Long Qingyun warned Li Fan, I am from the government. If you dare to kill me, there will be endless troubles in the future. Is that so? Li Fan smiled, die in peace. No one will know my identity. That's not necessarily true. Long Qingyun's voice carried a roar, in this world, there is no wall that doesn't have a crack. You know it yourself. Even if that day comes, you won't be able to see it. Li Fan grabbed Long Qingyun's throat, then pulled out a pistol and pressed it against the back of his head. "Don't kill me. Don't kill me." Long Qingyun suddenly lost his usual calmness and let out a series of screams. His lower body also emitted the smell of urine. "Please, don't kill me. I will give you anything you want. I will give it all to you. Save these words for the King of Hell." As Li Fan spoke, he directly pulled the trigger. The bullet penetrated Long Qingyun's head and splashed on Li Fan's mask, making his tiger mask look even more terrifying. Long Qingyun was finally killed, but Li Fan did not feel any joy. He killed him because he provoked his brother, so he must die. But his death wouldn't have much of an effect on them. Perhaps from today onwards, there would be someone more annoying to replace Long Qingyun's position. Before he had absolute strength, Li Fan could not control the overall situation. Little Tyrant was restricted layer by layer due to various reasons. However, this tiger-headed man was different. In the darkness, with a mask to conceal himself, Li Fan's movements became much easier. He sat there and looked at Long Qingyun, whose head was blown up in front of him. His heart was filled with mixed feelings. At this moment, Mr. Yang sat in front of Li Fan again. He stretched out a finger and touched Long Qingyun's head with some brain juice and blood, then put it into his mouth to taste. "It tastes good. Do you like this feeling?" Mr. Yang asked Li Fan. "What are you doing out here again? Get lost!" Li Fan shouted. "Too heartless." Mr. Yang smiled. "Li Fan, don't forget that you need me. Because I am you and you are me. Mere inner demons, don't you dare disturb my peace." Li Fan berated. "Inner demon." Mr. Yang laughed. Li Fan, don't you understand? You and I have long since become one. Would you have done such a thing in the past?" As Mr. Yang said, he pointed. Li Fan took a look. Outside the car, there were a bunch of corpses. Every corpse was personally created by Li Fan. He had transformed from an ordinary high school student into a terrifying homicidal maniac. The current you doesn't care about killing people at all. In the depths of your heart, you desire to kill, to destroy this world. Nonsense. Li Fan was somewhat angry. This damn Mr. Yang, this damn inner demon, why did he have to poke at my heart? Could it be that I am really a bloodthirsty person? Li Fan was fuming as he looked at Mr. Yang. Even if you don't admit it, you can't betray your heart. Mr. Yang once again reminded Li Fan, remember the taste of blood, Li Fan. Get lost, who would taste blood? It's disgusting. Li Fan waved his hand, trying to drive Mr. Yang away. Mr. Yang smiled, and his body slowly disappeared. Li Fan breathed a sigh of relief, but he felt that his mouth was a bit fishy. He reached out his hand and wiped it. His hand was actually stained with blood. Li Fan was shocked. He seemed to be able to hear Mr. Yang's voice echoing in his ears, "You can't get rid of me. I am you." Li Fan frowned. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, endured the taste of blood in his mouth, and directly got out of the Mercedes-Benz. The murder of the imperial capital's official, Long Qingyun, once again caused an uproar in China. This time, the tiger-headed man became the national wanted man, and he became the topic of people's idle chatter. It was said that the people that the tiger-headed man killed were all members of the underworld. Therefore, some people flattered the tiger-headed man, thinking that he was the messenger of justice. Some people angrily criticized the tiger-headed man, saying that he was a pervert who used lynching. No matter which one it was, it didn't matter to Li Fan. At this time, he had left the imperial capital and took the high-speed train to Hebei. As the imperial capital's neighbor, many people who lived in the imperial capital liked to settle down here. The housing prices in the imperial capital were high, but the housing prices in Hebei were much cheaper. Therefore, many people chose to buy a property here as a place to settle down. As soon as Li Fan got off the train, he rushed to the factory that Sanyi had mentioned. Although Long Qingyun was dead, the factory seemed to be operating normally, and everything was as usual. From the outside, it was just a simple feed processing plant. Li Fan squatted in front of the factory for a long time, but he couldn't see anything fishy. Could it be that this was really just an ordinary factory? Just as Li Fan was hesitating, two men wearing black iron masks walked out of the factory. The two of them had sabers hanging on their waists, and their bodies emitted the aura of experts. Long Qingyun is dead, the owner has to find a new representative. The two of them seemed to have come outside to take a breather. They leaned against the corner of the wall and whispered. "That's right, I didn't expect that Long Qingyun to be so weak. He even said that he brought some Terminator. I don't think that guy is good either. Terminator is a joke, hee." The other companion ridiculed, "How can a few clones be so powerful? We have bitterly cultivated our internal energy for so many years, how can we not be compared to some manufactured toys? But I heard that those Terminators were made from the genes extracted from the little tyrant, Li Fan." "Little tyrant is nothing. He didn't come. If he came, I would still take care of him. Stop boasting. But no matter how powerful the little tyrant is, he is not even comparable to a finger of the owner." "That's true. Okay, let's go back. Let's not talk anymore." The two of them took a breather outside, and then turned around to return to the factory. Li Fan silently followed behind the two of them. The workers in this factory seemed to be ordinary people. No one noticed Li Fan's arrival. He quietly followed behind the two iron-masked men and entered the feed factory. Sure enough, there is a secret inside the feed factory. The surrounding factories are all producing pig feed, but there is a processing factory in the basement, which should be producing celestial powder. But Li Fan hid in the darkness, looking at the elevator in front of him. He was in a dilemma. This elevator uses a password lock. When the two iron-masked men entered, their backs were facing Li Fan, so Li Fan did not see the password they entered. Even if he saw the password, Li Fan could not make a move. This factory is filled with cameras. If he is not careful, Li Fan will expose himself. Right now, there are two paths in front of Li Fan. Should he attack, or take advantage? Chapter 864. Li Fan chose to take advantage of the situation. He did not know the situation inside the factory, so he did not intend to attack. It was not that he was afraid of danger, but it would be bad if he scared everyone away. Li Fan quietly squatted in the dark corner, his whole body like a statue, motionless. As time passed, Li Fan remained silent and did not say a word. Many people walked past him, but no one noticed that there was someone hiding in this place. Li Fan was like an old hunter, waiting for his prey to take the bait. Soon, the prey finally came. An iron-masked man slowly walked out of the door, holding a pack of cigarettes in his hand, as if he was looking for a place to smoke. It never crossed his mind that there would be someone hiding here. When he walked past the shadow, a hand suddenly stretched out from the darkness and directly dragged the iron-masked man into the darkness. Before the iron-masked man could react, Li Fan's palm had pierced his throat and pulled out his laryngeal bone. Li Fan let out the blood of this man, then stripped off his clothes and the black iron mask, and put it on his face. In this way, Li Fan was no different from an ordinary iron-masked man. He tidied up his clothes and walked into the elevator. There was a password lock in the elevator, but Li Fan had observed for a long time and had already guessed the password from their hand movements. The elevator slowly descended and brought Li Fan to the first underground floor. As Li Fan expected, there was another world below. There was also a processing plant here, with many machines roaring. Before Li Fan came, he had been guessing how the immortal powder was refined. When he arrived at the underground factory, he was dumbfounded. The underground factory was full of martial artists who were locked up. These martial artists were all dying. They were all locked up in the nutrition tanks and kept alive with some kind of nutrient solution. Numerous pipes were connected to their bodies, extracting energy from them and sending it to the pipes next to them. These pipes concentrate the energy, which is then processed by another machine into a special red powder. Then, the powder was purified by several workers and turned into white immortal powder. Li Fan clenched his fists. Damn it, these bastards actually went too far, using human bodies to refine immortal powder. Just as Li Fan was peeping, two iron-masked men came down from above, escorting an adult and a child. They were father and son. The father was about 40 years old, and the child was about 10 years old. Do whatever you want to me. Let my son go. The father was covered in blood. His voice was filled with determination as he spoke to the two iron-masked men. One of the iron-masked men kicked him, causing him to fall to the ground. No matter who you were in the past, now that you are here, you are all nourishment. Nutrients have no right to speak. Another iron-masked man said as he pulled out a long sword and pierced the child's heart from behind. Shao Quan. The father's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. The iron-masked man slapped him on the head and knocked him out. Why did you kill him? This kid doesn't have any true energy. It would be a waste to keep him. Killing him was satisfying. That's true. We can use his corpse to refine a human pill for sect leader to nourish his body. As the two iron-masked men spoke, they sent the middle-aged man into the nutrition tank. Li Fan was stunned. He did not expect these iron-masked men to be so ruthless. They even killed a child. A surge of anger burned in Li Fan's heart, and his eyes gradually turned red. Mr. Yang's voice once again appeared in Li Fan's ears. These people deserve to die. Kill them. Li Fan's heart was stirring. Just as Li Fan was about to go crazy, another iron-masked man escorted a young man over. It's time to extract his true energy. This person. Is he alright? It's fine as long as he's alive. His true energy is useless. Alright. A few iron-masked men hurriedly prepared to send the young man into the nutrition tank. But at this moment, a tiger-headed man slowly walked out from the darkness. He stretched out both his hands, and his palms were burning with true energy. Who? One of the iron-masked men immediately pulled out a sword from his waist and charged towards the tiger-headed man. The iron-masked man's sword stabbed into the tiger-headed man's abdomen. The tiger-headed man was unmoved. He used his claws to tear the iron-masked man's neck, and his head flew out. The tiger-headed man pulled out the sword from his abdomen, and the wound was quickly healing. The other two iron-masked men were shocked. They immediately pulled out their swords and attacked the tiger-headed man from both sides. The two of them charged towards the tiger-headed man. The tiger-headed man suddenly stretched out his hands and used his palms to grab the two iron-masked men's swords. The tiger-headed man seemed to have a pair of iron palms, and he did not let go of the swords. At the same time, he let out a roar. Roar! Ferocious tiger roar. The two iron-masked men were stunned by the roar, and their bodies trembled slightly. The tiger-headed man crushed the two men's swords with his palms, and then his claws pierced through the two men's throats, tearing their throats apart. The appearance of a tiger-headed man with a vicious aura alarmed all the guards here. Many iron-masked men rushed towards Li Fan from all directions. Each of them carried a sword, their footsteps were steady, and their swordsmanship was sharp. They were all trained elites. They all pounced towards the tiger-headed man, but the tiger-headed man lowered his body, as if he was a tiger lying on the ground. Hungry tiger out of the cage. The tiger-headed man's body fiercely rushed out. He left behind an afterimage as he flashed past the iron-masked men. His tiger claws continued to brandish, and every time he tore apart an iron-masked man's body, he was merciless. After a minute, the ground was filled with the minced meat of the iron-masked men. Other than a few slashes, the tiger-headed man did not suffer any major injuries. The iron-masked men in the underground factory had all been killed by the tiger-headed man. The young man knelt on the ground in a daze, and looked at the tiger-headed man. The tiger-headed man slowly walked towards him, his hands were still dripping with blood. The tiger-headed man's entire body was filled with vicious aura, as if he was a ferocious tiger that crawled out from hell, devouring all the evil in the world. The young man no longer hesitated, and immediately knelt in front of the tiger-headed man, and kowtowed 3 times. This was the ceremony to acknowledge a master. The young man waited for the tiger-headed man's response. A trace of fascination appeared in the young man's eyes. He seemed to be waiting for such a man to descend from the sky and save him. No, not save, it should be redemption. Li Fan's heart demon also gradually calmed down, and looked at the young man in front of him, feeling a little strange. Isn't this young man Jiang Yi? Chapter 865. Li Fan had investigated Jiang Yi before. He should be locked up in a nursing home in Jiangnan. Why was he sent here? Was he also sent here to extract qi and refine immortal powder? That shouldn't be the case. This young man should have been captured by Murong Bo. Why was he sent here? Li Fan pondered for a moment. Iron-masked men, iron guards, could there be some connection? That didn't seem right. The martial arts of the Iron Guards and the iron-masked men were clearly different. The Iron Guards were Murong Bo's elites, they were well trained in the iron shirt, in addition to the black palm, each person's strength had reached the peak of perfection. But the strength of these iron-masked men was obviously not good. They were probably at the peak of the Ascended Hall. After all, the Ascended Hall was a rare expert. It was impossible to find them all at once. Li Fan looked at Jiang Yi who was kneeling in front of him and narrowed his eyes. This young man actually wanted to worship him as his master. Benefactor, please accept me. Jiang Yi respectfully bowed to Li Fan. I will definitely work hard to practice martial arts. I will not disappoint Benefactor for saving my life. You shouldn't worship me. Li Fan looked at Jiang Yi. This young man looked very similar to Jiang Feng. They were indeed biological brothers. This pair of brothers were extremely handsome. Although they couldn't compare to Yan Kai, they were still dragons and phoenixes among men. Thinking about that elder Jiang Shuetian of the demonic cult, he was extremely heroic. His 2 sons were both outstanding people. No wonder that old dog Murong Bo wanted to accept Jiang Feng as a disciple. Li Fan was also happy because of his love for talent. His martial arts had to be passed down by someone. Although he was still young, being a martial artist was a dangerous profession. He didn't know when he would be killed. Even if he didn't die, he couldn't be crippled. Accepting a disciple was ultimately a good thing. Although Lu Xiaohu wasn't bad, his aptitude was special. He was only proficient in the Black Tiger Emperor and couldn't completely inherit his legacy. Accepting another disciple didn't seem to be a bad idea. Especially after accepting Jiang Feng's younger brother, Li Fan suddenly became interested. But what needed to be said still had to be said. Li Fan reminded Jiang Yi, but Jiang Ye's gaze was firm. I need a master like you. Please accept me. Jiang Yi begged without the slightest hesitation. There's a connection between us. I can't be your master. Li Fan said again. Please accept me as your disciple, benefactor. Jiang Yi begged again. Even if I killed your father. You can do that too. Sure. Jiang Yi raised his head, his gaze firm. Moreover, you're not the one who killed my father. What if I am your brother's enemy? Since it was a matter of accepting a disciple, Li Fan didn't want to fool people, so he asked bluntly. It's all right. The young man did not hesitate at all. He nodded. As long as Master teaches me martial arts, I will be Master's sword and saber. Wherever Master points, I will hit there. What is your purpose in taking me as your master? Li Fan asked. Revenge. The teenager's gaze was firm. Revenge for Jiang Shuetian. Yes. The young man was a little surprised. He didn't expect that his benefactor actually knew him. It was a coincidence that he was brought to this place, but he also met his benefactor by chance. His benefactor saw through his identity with a glance. All of these made the young man shocked. However, this was the man he should follow. As long as his benefactor accepted him, he would have the power to go against Murong Villa. Alright, since you're willing to be my disciple, I won't be unreasonable. Li Fan stretched out his hand and patted the young man's shoulder. Let's eat this pill first. Li Fan handed over a rejuvenation pill, but he didn't say what it was. In the eyes of the young man, this might be poison. It all depended on whether he would eat it or not. The young man immediately took the pill and stuffed it into his mouth. His weak body immediately began to recover. The young man was a little surprised. Thank you, Master, for the pill. Jiang Yi cupped his hands at Li Fan and knelt down once again. Get up, we should leave. This wasn't a place to stay for long. Li Fan prepared to leave this underground factory. Master, please wait a moment. As the young man spoke, he picked up a waste knife from the side and held it in his hand as he walked to a few nutrition tanks. Without waiting for Li Fan to speak, the young man had already stabbed the knife into a nutrition tank and used the tip of the knife to stab the heart of a martial artist. A 12-year-old young man's expression didn't change. After killing one person, he wiped the blood off the knife and walked to the next one. What are you doing? Li Fan suddenly appeared beside the young man and used his fingers to pinch the young man's waist knife. Master, these people have their true chi sucked out and their meridians are all damaged. They can only rely on the nutrition tanks to barely survive. If Master didn't save me today, I would also end up like this. Rather than living like this, it's better to die. So, I'm freeing them. Li Fan looked at the young man and didn't know what to say. What the young man said was very reasonable, making Li Fan unable to refute. Seeing that his master didn't say anything, the young man let go of the waste knife, picked up another one, and went to finish off the others. The young man stabbed one by one, and with a few poof sounds, the remaining martial artists were all poked full of holes. In this way, all the martial artists who were locked up in the factory were considered to be freed. He is very similar to you. Mr. Yang stood beside the young man and pointed at the satisfied young man. He and Lu Xiaohu are very similar to you. However, this young man is purer, more like your heart. Nonsense, how is he similar to me? Li Fan scolded angrily. Otherwise, why would you let him kill these innocent martial artists? Shut up. Li Fan scolded, but the young man looked at Li Fan and tilted his head. Master, who are you talking to? Nobody. Since the matter is done, come with me. Li Fan sighed and left the underground factory with Jiang Yi. Li Fan led the young man, but he didn't directly return to the escort agency. Instead, he chose to rent a small house nearby and lived there first. Recently, he had done a big job, so the traffic here must be strictly checked. He couldn't leave in a hurry. Li Fan let the young man stay with him. The small house had a bedroom and a living room. Li Fan let Jiang Yi live in the bedroom. How can this be? Jiang Yi shook his head repeatedly and knelt down in front of Li Fan. Master should live in the bedroom, this disciple can sleep outside. Outside? You want to sleep in the corridor? Master is noble, how can this disciple sleep in the same room with Master? Jiang Yi seemed to have some traditional ideas, so Li Fan quickly said. Don't talk nonsense, how can I let you sleep in the corridor? You have just been liberated, and your body is still weak. Since you don't want to sleep in the bedroom, then sleep in the living room. But, no buts, it's decided. All right. Jiang Yi nodded. Li Fan pointed to the bathroom, go take a bath, when you come out, I will teach you some martial arts. Yes, Master. Chapter 866. Li Fan also changed his clothes and took off his mask. He changed into a set of ordinary sportswear and felt a lot more refreshed, as if he had unloaded a lot of burdens. After half an hour, Jiang Yi, who had already washed up, walked out of the bathroom naked. Originally, Li Fan did not take it seriously, but when he saw Jiang Yi's appearance, he immediately covered his eyes. Fuck me. You're a girl. Master, don't mind me. Men and women are the same body. A girl can also learn martial arts well and serve Master. When it came to martial arts, there were indeed some differences between men and women. Because women would have their period once a month, it was easy for them to lose their true chi in martial arts, so they were not as good as men. But the problem was, that was not it. I thought you were a man. Li Fan said with his eyes closed. I was raised by my father as a man since I was young. Jiang Yi explained, even to the outside world, I still declare that I am a man. Isn't that strange? Li Fan felt that this was some kind of logic. Raising a girl as a son. My father likes sons and doesn't like daughters. Jiang Yi's words were a bit sad, but she did not seem to feel anything, as if she was casually saying something that did not matter. I am 14 years old this year. Because I have been locked up in the water dungeon all year round, my body has not developed much. Jiang Yi said her real age. I heard that girls will start to grow breasts in 2 years. I think it will be very troublesome. At that time, I hope Master will grant me circumcision. Li Fan was so scared that he almost peed his pants. Don't tease me, okay? Circumcision. Isn't that cutting breasts? Li Fan closed his eyes and began to instill the correct thoughts into this girl. Jiang Yi, you can't say that. That Muronging is also a woman and her breasts are not small. Didn't she also train to become the leader of the martial arts world? Muronging. Hearing this name, Jiang Yi's eyes flashed with anger. I will not let a single person from Murong's family go. Jiang Yi was indeed filled with hostility. Although Li Fan did not see it, he could still feel the hostility coming from her body. Let's talk about this later. Your kung fu is very poor now. Go put on your clothes first. I'll teach you some martial arts first. It's all right, Master. You are my master. Not to mention looking at me, my body is yours at all times. If Master doesn't mind, I can also bear a child for Master. Li Fan nearly spat out a mouthful of blood. Nonsense. Quickly put on your clothes. Yes. Jiang Yi walked to the side, took out a set of clothes that Li Fan had placed at the side, and changed into it. Li Fan had bought the first set of sportswear for a man. It suited Jiang Yi very well and made her look very slim. Master, your disciple is done. You can open your eyes now. Li Fan carefully put down his hand and saw that Jiang Yi had changed into the blue sportswear. At a glance, she looked like a junior high school student. She was petite and exquisite. Master, please teach us. Jiang Yi knelt in front of Li Fan with his legs crossed and was extremely respectful. Before I start, there's something I need to tell you. Master, please speak. Muronging is my fiancé. Li Fan's words caused Jiang Yi to raise her head abruptly. However, Jiang Yi was only slightly surprised and quickly calmed down. You don't seem too surprised. It's normal for an outstanding man like Master to be liked by a woman. Jiang Yi said with conviction, although that Muronging is annoying, it's understandable that she's attracted to Master. Sigh, I can't refute your point of view. Li Fan said shamelessly. Since you don't care, that's good. But disciple has a doubt in my heart. Tell me. Li Fan asked. Since Master and Muronging are engaged, why did you disguise yourself and destroy Murongbo's underground business? Oh. Sure enough, it's the underground business of that old dog Murong. Li Fan stroked his chin, thinking in his heart, I followed the vine to find the melon unexpectedly. I really found Murongbo. Master seems to have a grudge against Murongbo. Well, there's a bit of a grudge. My engagement with Muronging has long been annulled. Li Fan sighed, between the two of us, sooner or later there will be a winner. After disciple finishes learning, I will definitely share Master's burden. Jiang Yi immediately said. Don't worry, you should learn Kung Fu first. By the way, your family's 12 acupoint hand is also very powerful, why don't you learn it? Although the acupoint hand is powerful, it doesn't suit me. Jiang Yi explained, the acupoint hand is not fierce enough. I need a more lethal Kung Fu. But the tiger strike technique doesn't seem to suit you. Li Fan thought for a moment, he suddenly stretched out his right hand, like the fangs of a poisonous snake, his 5 fingers suddenly pressed against Jiang Yi's throat. What do you think of this? Li Fan asked. What Kung Fu is this? It looks like the snake form fished, but it seems to be somewhat different. Jiang Yi only felt her vision blur, and Li Fan's snake hand was already in front of her throat, ready to pierce her vitals at any time. I'm training in a self-created Kung Fu called the 7 Heroes Fist, and it is currently ranked in the top 10 of the Divine Art Manual. Li Fan said with some pride. Every time he mentioned the 7 Heroes Fist, he would uncontrollably become proud. Master is so powerful. Jiang Yi was extremely impressed in her heart. As expected of Master, he was able to create such a powerful Kung Fu at such a young age. If she were to learn from such a master, she would definitely not be bad. Master, please teach me Kung Fu. Jiang Yi was already a little impatient. Then I'll teach you the snake strike technique first. When you master it, you will be able to reach the state of the Dragon King snake. Li Fan felt that letting Jiang Yi practice the snake strike technique was not a bad idea. With her female body, she would definitely have an advantage over him. Come, I'll demonstrate it to you. Li Fan sat there cross-legged and hooked his finger at Jiang Yi. Come and attack me. Yes, master. Jiang Yi nodded her head. She knew that her Kung Fu was definitely not as good as her master. Thus, she directly stepped forward and struck out with her palm towards Li Fan. Li Fan did not dodge. With a twist of his hand, he wrapped it around Jiang Yi's wrist and locked her attack. Jiang Yi was taken aback. She did not expect her master's snake hand to be able to lock her attack. This was really a little powerful. I didn't use much true qi. Li Fan's finger once again pressed against Jiang Yi's throat. Do you see? This is a defensive counterattack. Not only did I lock your attack, I can also hit your vitals at the same time. Master is so powerful. Then I'll learn this snake strike technique. Jiang Yi felt that this kung fu was very suitable for her. She waited for Li Fan to let go before kneeling down again. Alright, no need to be so polite. I originally wanted to teach you. Li Fan helped Jiang Yi up. Looking at the delicate and pretty girl in front of him, Li Fan sighed in his heart. By a freak combination of factors, he actually accepted Jiang Feng's younger brother. No, his younger sister as his disciple. Chapter 867. 3 days later, Jiang Yi stood in the living room, practicing a set of snake strike technique. The early morning sunlight was a little weak. It sprinkled on Jiang Yi's body, as if it was a symbol of hope. Although Jiang Yi was as thin as bones a few days ago, under the nourishment of Li Fan's elixirs, she had recovered more than half. Her skinny face had also become much rounder, and she looked like a little beauty. She was still young, but in a few years she would probably become a living beauty. She wore a blue sportswear. Although her upper body was still thin, because of the exercise, her pants were tightly wrapped around her buttocks, like two small watermelons, looking very alluring. Especially when the light of dawn draped over her body, it made her look somewhat sacred. It was really attractive, and once one fell into it, they would not be able to pull themselves out. Jiang Yi was very serious when she punched. Every punch and kick contained all of her strength. Jiang Yi struck out with her snake strike, and the air seemed to tremble. The dust in the room flew everywhere under the reflection of the sunlight. Li Fan suddenly walked behind her, and a big bear king seal slapped towards Jiang Yi. Jiang Yi suddenly turned around, and her right hand wrapped around Li Fan's arm. Then, she pointed at Li Fan's throat and struck. However, Li Fan's palm pulled, and Jiang Yi staggered and fell a step forward. At the same time, Li Fan's shoulder bumped into Jiang Yi, causing her to fly out and sit on the sofa behind her. Li Fan's strength was just right. Jiang Yi fell onto the sofa, but he didn't feel any pain. He was just a little embarrassed. You used too much strength in your attack. Li Fan reminded Jiang Yi, only use 70% of your strength, and leave 30% for backup. Got it, Master. Jiang Yi was a little ashamed. She did not expect that after practicing for a few days, she still could not gain Master's favor. But you have improved a lot. As expected of Jiang Shuetian's daughter, your talent is indeed good. Li Fan walked over and reached out to touch Jiang Yi's hair. I will definitely work harder and not let Master down. Well, it's about time. I should take you back to City A. Li Fan looked at Jiang Yi with a strange expression. But this time, when you return, you will be able to see your brother. I don't want to see him. However, Jiang Yi turned her head away. This was the first time she had seen her being at odds with him. Li Fan felt a little strange. We're all in City A. We'll always see each other. Sooner or later, we'll bump into each other. Li Fan reminded Jiang Yi. He has acknowledged the enemy as his father. It's fine if I don't see him. Jiang Yi seemed to be quite angry about this. Although I don't really have a good relationship with him. But speaking from a fair point of view, he acknowledged the thief as his father because of you. Li Fan said. That is the truth. That's true, but I can't get over the barrier in my heart. Jiang Yi was a little angry. She clenched her fists and her body trembled slightly, unable to speak. That will be difficult. Li Fan frowned. Our 2 escort agencies are just across the street. It will be difficult for the 2 of you to not see each other, right? I have already thought about this matter for Master. Jiang Yi said and pointed to the tiger mask hanging on the wall by Li Fan. Since Master is using a tiger mask, I'll use a poisonous snake mask. When the time comes, I'll be by Master's side, and no one will recognize me. Jiang Yi gave a suggestion. Li Fan felt that it was reliable. That's good. This way, it will be less awkward. Li Fan nodded. Then we'll do as you say. Master, Jiang Yi suddenly hesitated. She seemed to want to ask something, but she swallowed the words back. What's wrong? Li Fan looked at Jiang Yi. He didn't know what she wanted to ask. Master, you said I have a senior martial brother. Compared to him, who is better? Looking at Jiang Yi's shy expression for the first time, Li Fan couldn't help but laugh. Both of you have your own merits. Your senior brother is more innocent than you. If he suffers in the future, you have to help him more. Okay. Jiang Yi nodded and agreed. Okay, then there's nothing else I need to tell you. Come back to a city with me. Li Fan had already lived here for 3 days. The matter should have passed by now. But at this moment, there was a sudden knock on the door. The sound was very urgent. Bang bang bang, bang bang bang. It was as fast as a drum and as heavy as a hammer. Jiang Yi frowned. She stretched out her right hand and condensed true qi in her palm. Li Fan reached out and grabbed Jiang Yi's soft wrist. Then, he put away the tiger mask hanging on the side and stuffed it into the carpet under his feet. Li Fan made a shushing gesture to Jiang Yi. Then, he walked to the door and opened it. After opening the door, 2 patrol officers stood at the door. One was tall and the other was short. They looked very serious. The tall one asked Li Fan directly. Cooperate and show me your ID. Okay. Li Fan took out his ID and showed it to them. This was the fake ID that Ling Tian asked someone to make for Li Fan. It was no different from the real one. Lulo. The tall policeman looked at the ID carefully and returned it to Li Fan. When did you move in? In a few days. I just arrived in Hebei. Listening to Li Fan's northeastern accent, he seemed to be harmless. The tall policeman was about to leave, but the short one grabbed him and asked Li Fan. What are you doing here? Looking for a job. Li Fan said, I'll take a look here first. If there's no good job here, I'll go to the capital. Anyway, I'm still young and have a lot of opportunities. Officers, what can I do for you? Who's inside? The short policeman's eyes fell on Jiang Yi in the living room. My sister. She just graduated. She doesn't miss school anymore. She wants to work with me. She's too young to work. The 2 policemen were about to leave, but the short one suddenly turned his head and stared at Li Fan. Something's wrong. Li Fan felt that Jiang Yi, who was behind him, seemed to be a little impatient, and a wave of true energy had already been raised. But Li Fan still behaved as usual and asked. What's wrong, officer? She's not even 16 yet. She can't work, understand? The short policeman reminded Li Fan, she's still young and immature. Take good care of her. Kids nowadays are just like that. Why are they so worrisome? Sigh. She doesn't listen to me. Li Fan couldn't help but sigh. Are you done yet? Jiang Yi suddenly stomped her feet and said angrily, Stop nagging. If you keep nagging, I'll run away from home. Fine, fine, fine. I won't say any more. Li Fan shrugged his shoulders at the short policeman. The other party patted his arm. Take it slow. Sooner or later, she'll grow up. Okay, it's not peaceful here recently. Be careful when you go out. If you see anyone suspicious, remember to contact us. Okay, officer. The police and the people are like family. I will fully cooperate with you. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.